Good evening. This is Kathleen Griffin of the Board of Assessment Appeals. It is Thursday, March 18th at 5:59 p.m., and this is the recording for hearings in Conference Room 1. Actually, that's for you to sign. If you have a pen, if not, I'm going to grab one.
Please.
Excuse me, Holly.
Can you locate me a pen at some point in time? Believe it or not, I have only one and permanent markers. Yeah. There's none in our box. Okay.
I don't know if they do. Rock Turnpike with it. All right, we'll see if this one can last here for the night. We'll see how that goes. Once I swear you in, I'm going to have you sign that. So.
Yes, and I'm cleaning it. And my hand.
Oh, that's you. Okay, so welcome. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I'm going to hear your appeal tonight. And your appeal is being recorded here on the phone. So I'm going to state a few things about your appeal. Please correct me if any of them are incorrect. And it is 6:01 p.m. Okay, so your appeal number is 34. Property address is 60 High Court. The owner is Stanley Buckmere. The town value is $122,400, and you're requesting a reduction to $61,600. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what's on the paperwork that was filled out for this evening. So that's what it says. The town value is $65,680, and the appellant's opinion of fair market value was $61,600. So
right, but you mentioned $124,000.
Did I say 124? Oh yeah, town value. Okay.
Yeah, and you also just said $65,680. It's $85,680.
Okay, so actually the town value is $122,400. You probably listed the assessed value rather than the appraised value. So the $85,680 is probably, I don't have a calculator, but
70% of that?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the $122,400. So I just want to make sure when you're asking for the $61,600, is that also 70% of what you're asking for? Probably, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I got that parcel appraised after my father passed for like $88,000. That's what the discrepancy is.
Okay, so the town is at $122,400, and well, this is what it was before.
Right.
Okay, so you're asking to go back.
Why it was going up. First off, that it was going up 30%.
Right. Okay. So first of all, let's just correct your requested amount because it's actually 70. You're probably requesting to go to not 61,600. You're probably requesting to go to that divided by 0.7. So you're faster with your. I used to have a calculator in my bag. And then, you doing it for me? And we'll get that fixed because that makes a difference.
No, it is. It's basically the same.
Right, but what is 61,600 divided by 7? 0.7.
88.
88,000 even?
Right, and that's what it was appraised at 2 years ago.
Okay, so that so you're asking to go down to 88,000. Okay, which is what we priced.
Or keep the assessment the same. Got
it. Okay. So the next thing, I just want to make sure you are who you say you are. So.
Would you like a license?
No. The owner is an estate, right? Stanley Buckmere Estate, and he's passed away?
Yes.
So are you the executor?
I'm the executor, yes.
Of the estate? Okay.
His son.
Okay, great. So if you could just state your name for the record and say that's who you are, that'd be great. And then I'll swear you in.
Brian Buckmere. I'm the executor of the estate and the son of deceased Stanley Buckner.
Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. Okay, I got that taken care of, and we got the numbers straightened out. So you want the $88,000, which is the prior amount. Okay.
I was just looking for the assessment to remain the same because ironically it just appraised at that number 2 years ago.
Okay. So do you have, I just want to see if you submitted any paperwork, because this is now's your opportunity to tell us why you don't think, it's gone up at all in 2 years. Or gone up since 2015, basically, right?
Right.
Okay.
Or what I was asking was why did it go up 39% in 5 years? Because the property certainly wouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, ironically, it might have been appraised, or it might have been assessed too high prior, and now it's catching up to what.
It could have been or too low, and now it's catching up. That's right. So that could be one of the reasons why, without asking the assessor's office, I don't really know. It's a parking lot, is that correct?
Basically,
that's what it says, but it is a buildable lot.
Well, there's a right-of-way for the train tracks in the back, the Amtrak. So it is not buildable. There's restrictions. That's why it's a separate lot, because it was purchased by my father in '77 with 35 High Court.
Got it. 35 High Court.
Which is adjacent.
So they both transferred into your name, or did he since sell the 35 High Court?
No, it's still probating.
They're both in probate. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at the field card here, and it does say that they've got a condition factor of 0.3 on it, so that's sort of why. And it's a zone DID. I'm not as familiar with the commercial, but okay, so you have an appraisal that you want to submit into the record, or?
Frankly, I hadn't thought about printing that part out, but I could email it, if I may.
Yes, you may. Yeah.
Because both parcels were appraised after my father's death for probate, because they needed that.
Mm-hmm. And that was in 2018?
No, that would have been early 19.
Okay.
He passed September the 4th of 18.
Yeah, so if you could send those appraisals in, I can tell you what address to send them to.
Okay.
And make sure you put your appeal number, which is 304 on the top, and I will note that on here that an appraisal is coming. I don't know when we're going to do our decision making. We're supposed to finish by the end of April, so I would just ask if you could do it, relatively quickly.
Oh, no, it would be a day or two.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I forget. I'm writing it on your sheet, but sometimes I forget. So when it comes through, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's okay. So, yeah, if it's appeal number 304, 60 High Court, and if you can put, for Kathleen in the subject line, someplace in the text of it, that's really helpful, because then I'll know it's 9 people having things being mailed to, and it's BAA for Board of Assessment Appeals at fairfieldct.org.
And that's Kathleen?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We used to have name tags, but those also have legs.
That's okay.
I only think one's got my name on it.
Did I spell that correctly?
Yes, Kathleen.
That's all right. I don't need it.
Well, other people might. I should have one. Everybody usually does.
Yeah.
Have it up. There we go. All right. Very sophisticated. All right.
Well, if we get through this, we get through anything.
For sure.
Yes.
Okay, so basically you wanted to go to the appraised rate. You see no reason why it would have appreciated over time.
Right. I think it appreciated to the point of what it. In other words, I think it appraised too high before, and now it's at where if it remains, it would be what it was appraised at.
Okay, but you want it to be down to the 88, and so you thought it was too high in the past. Got it.
Right, which I can't do anything about.
That's right.
But all I can do is stop the bleeding.
Right. So it should have.
So I think it should be assessed at the same 61.6, with a market value of about 88,000. And the appraisal will show that.
Okay. Because, with COVID, things have increased. I don't know if commercial property has as much.
Right.
But you haven't done anything to improve the lot. You use it, looks like it's for equipment storage and it's unpaved parking. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. So can you just tell me for my own, where is High Court?
You know where Westie Storage is off of Kings Highway East?
Yeah.
That's a dead-end road on the side of Westie Storage.
Okay. I can look it up on the GPS. All right. Anything else you want to tell me?
No. What were you going to look up?
I was just going to say, I can map it. I've got the GIS here, so I can look that up in a second and where it is. But you told me approximately, so I have some idea in my head. It just helps me figure it out. And the other, is there a business on the
On 35,
on
yeah. Well,
Court.
the name on the business, which is now defunct, it was Fairfield Graphics.
Was Fairfield Graphics. Okay. And so now that business is no longer, it's just an empty building
It was
on there?
a printing building.
Okay, and that's still, you own it, but it's not being...
Yes, it's owned by the estate, and we are trying to rent like portions of it out.
Okay.
But it's just a cinder block building.
Okay.
From 1963 that's original, that's basically in disrepair with a leaky roof and.
Right. Is this lot used for parking for that property, for that business?
No.
No. So it's just looks like it's used for storage. It's got some. They've kind of shown a picture of it here with some logs and then some other things in the back. Let me just take a look at it on the GIS just so I can feel better about that. If I call it the main property, I should be able to see this. I'm a lefty, and they have these computers set up for righties, so it takes me twice as long. The cords are all wrapped around the mouse. Let's see. Looking up by property it does. So it's 35 is the
60,
other one, right?
Yeah.
This one's 60, but the other's 35. It's actually probably easier for me to go. 35 times 4. Okay. Okay, I see the 30. I see Fairfield Project, something like Redondo. Duluth is in the front. I see some commons at Fairfield. Okay, I see the Fairfield graphics off of Kings Highway, and then I see the 60 High Court.
And is that public software or is that only personal?
No, you can come, if you want to come take a look, or I can tell you how to find it at home. It's totally, it's our GIS. I'm not as good at navigating it as so here it is in map form, so I looked up 60 right here.
Oh,
but this is your other one right here. Now, I don't know what all this is. I guess this is maybe street front. It's kind of weird that they have the border. It's just, well, I have that.
That might be the right of way for the.
Where's your driveway? Is it coming this way, or it comes out? You're coming off a High Court.
This is the Fairfield Graphics.
Yeah. So you access it here this way.
Yes, it's at the end of the dead-end street.
Got it. Yep.
And then the railroad tracks are over here. See?
This is the tracks here,
yeah.
And you've got some water or something in here. Yeah, there's also ways to make it look like map. Where's the? I don't know how to change it around somewhere.
I can't get pictures of old stuff, can I?
Can you get a picture of this?
Yeah. No, but like I wanted to know about a fence because I got somebody fighting me.
Oh, I see.
And I have to prove there was a
Yeah,
fence.
you can add. On the GIS too. Again, I'm not that good at navigating it, but there's also you can see. Where is it here? I don't know if it's in the public version, but certainly in the town version, it will show you the maps from previous years. There's just a drop down for the parcels. I just have to figure out.
Oh, I see.
Let me see. Create a printable. Yeah, you can see which,
Can I take a picture of that web address?
yeah, actually, I'll tell you what it is. You can
Okay.
get to it by going to fairfieldcc.org, which is the town website, /GIS. And then it will link, there's a link on there, because I can never remember that.
I'm sorry?
Yep, /GIS, for,
GIS.
yeah, for Geographical Information System, or whatever it stands for. And on that web page, it will click you over, there'll be the link to send you to this software, because it actually leaves the town site to go there. But there are ways of seeing, there are ways of seeing old maps too. Those can show
Yeah,
you.
because that's why it's in probate for 2 years, because, yeah.
No, so engineering can also help you with that as well, because they know how to navigate, because there's the public version of this, and then there's the back end, which has a lot more of the historical data and maps,
Okay.
So they can certainly help you with that. If you say, do you have any old maps, you can call over there, and Emmeline or somebody can help you with that.
And I sign this as the owner or duly?
You're the owner, yeah, so you can sign that part right there.
I did.
Yeah, great, and I'm just going to read you a statement before you leave.
All right.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Sure. I will be presenting your petition to a majority of the Board of Assessment Appeals at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. We hope to make our decisions in March, but I know we're going into April this year because we have 650. It's just too many. So if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. And if you're granted a reduction, you can't come back for 5 years until the next revow. And if you don't agree with our decision, you can take the next step, appeal your decision in court. And instructions on how to do that will be in your decision letter.
Thank you.
Okay? Well, thank you very much, yes. And if you could just email me that appraisal, I will attach it, and it will be a part of the online backup.
Will do. You'll get it in a day or two.
Yes, great. And if
Thank
you
you.
get more information from the GIS, feel free to include that too.
Thank you.
So, all right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
Hello?
Hi, this is Kathleen Griffin calling from the Board of Assessment Appeals for Rajat Gupta.
Yes, this is he.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. So I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I am here to hear your appeal tonight. I am just going to read a few things into the record, and please correct me if any of it is wrong. Let's see, your appeal number is 415. The property address is 356 Black Rock Turnpike. The owner of the property is Bright Beginnings Fairfield, LLC. The town's value on the property is $170,630, and you're requesting a reduction to $159,250.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay, great. And then the next thing I'm going to do is confirm who you are. So if you could just tell me, state your name, and then tell me whether you are the owner of the property or an authorized agent acting on behalf of the property.
Rajat Gupta, I'm the owner of the property.
Okay, great. And then let's see, and I know I can't see you, but I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and I will swear you in. So.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So now is your opportunity to tell me, and through me to the board, your appeal. You are being recorded.
Yeah, I was working from home, and the paperwork got mixed up in the office, and I was a couple of days late, and that's why my appeal was raised. My taxes were raised. So I would request you guys, this is a hard time for any small business, as you know. I would request you to. I understand it was not substantially late, 1 or 2 days late, and I understand it shouldn't be, but paperwork got mixed up in the office, and I was working from home, and that's why it was sent late, and it's going to affect us in the future years also. So if it's possible for you guys to, not charge us the penalty, I really appreciate it.
Okay, so was this for your personal property filings, or which filing was it? I'm just looking at the paperwork.
Yeah, it was property taxes.
Personal property. Okay.
Yeah.
I have this marked as commercial real estate, so I've got it wrong on my paperwork. It's okay, but it's personal property, and you got a late fee. Okay.
Yeah, so basically it was like $1,000, and it's just going to be every year. It's going to be, the small businesses being hurt.
Sure.
Because of COVID,
Yeah, your late fee though, you only pay taxes on the late fee. You don't pay, you have to pay.
She told me it's about close to $1,000 or something, a year.
No, and it's only if you don't file on time. Your penalty is only for that 1 year. It doesn't go into the other years. It's just for the year.
Yeah, I appreciate it. If you can reverse this in these hard times. If not, I understand.
Yeah, because the penalty is 25% of your assessed value, right? Which was what, 136. So the penalty is $34,000, but then you're not paying that. You're paying, right? You have to pay. The penalty is a percentage of the on the 34. You get taxed as if you had $35,000 worth of additional real estate at your house. So, think of a $500,000 property versus a $35,000 worth of property. I don't know what the mill rate is on that, but it might be 20 some odd. It's not. I'm not doing the math well in my head. A mill rate of 27.
Yeah, I know what it is. She told me it's going to be about $1,000.
Yeah, but it's not $1,000. No. I can have them contact you with exactly what the amount was, but that isn't the case for the late filing. I will ask the board, but so that just gets tacked onto your gross assessment. That's all. So at 170, you're going to pay the mill rate on 170 instead of paying the mill rate on 159.
But then I pay it every year, right?
No, it's just because you were late this year. So it's a one-time penalty. So as long as you file on time, it's totally different than your real estate, because with personal property you have to file every year.
It's possible to reverse it, it's not,
Yeah, I actually don't think that we have by state statute, I don't believe we can waive the penalty. We can only, if you're saying that your personal property is wrong, but I don't think you're saying that. You're just saying that the paperwork was lost. So Yeah, we can get you what that exact amount is, the penalty this year, but it is only for 1 year. I just don't have a calculator in front of me, unfortunately, right now, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, anything else you want to tell me tonight? That's it? Okay, I'm going to read you a quick closing statement, if that's okay. So I'm going to present your case to a majority of the Board of Assessment Appeals at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. All will be made in March, probably April this year, though. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't appeal for the next 5 years. But that's for real estate. Actually, it's different from personal property. But if you don't agree with our decision, you can take it to court. I can't imagine you would over whatever the amount is, the 20, small amount of money. So instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Okay.
Okay? Great. Well, that's everything. This concludes our hearing. And please have a good night.
You also, okay.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Kathleen Griffin from the Board of Assessment Appeals in Fairfield, calling for Catherine.
Yes, this is Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
You are too.
Yes, hanging in there despite the rain, having to be out
All
tonight.
right,
So that's
it's a
okay.
dreary day.
I know. All right, so welcome. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'm going to hear your appeal tonight, and your hearing is also being recorded, so I just wanted to let you know that. I'm going to state a few things for the record, and if you could correct me if any of it is not right. So your appeal, let's see, right now it is 6:30 p.m. Your appeal number is 59. Our property address is 293 Pequot Avenue, unit number 1. The owner of the property is CFG 293 Pequot Avenue, LLC. The town has the property valued at $494,600, and you're requesting a reduction to $400,000.
Correct.
Is that all correct? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. And then the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to state your name for the record and say whether you are the owner of the business or you are authorized agent acting on behalf of the owner.
Okay, I am the owner, Catherine Fingelli Granberg.
Okay, great. And now I know that I can't see you, but I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and I will swear you in. So, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So now's your opportunity to tell, to tell me, tell the board, who's ever listening on the line tonight, that why you believe the town does not have your property value correctly and that it should be set to $400,000.
Okay. I originally bought the building, and as it says on the field card, which is wrong, 5525 or whatever it was, and that was for my space and the exact twin space next door, not just this space.
Okay, can you give me the address? Is that unit number 2 then?
No, yeah, the other one's unit number 2, and its address is 295. So I owned the entire building when I paid $552.5, I believe it was.
Okay, so you paid $552.5
Right.
for both. Gets recorded. Yeah, sometimes when someone purchases 2 properties, the purchase price gets recorded on one of the cards, and then it was recorded as 0 on the other card. But okay.
So I didn't want that to cause confusion.
Okay, and I appreciate you telling me that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then I, did put some money in and revamped it a bit, and eventually I subdivided the building and made 2 retail or in Sammy's Pizza Case restaurant condos. So you know that they're both condos and have been condominiumized.
I'm sorry, so tell me that again. So it's the Sammy's Pizza building?
Well, he is the 295, unit number 2.
He's number 295. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my place had a very active, it was, rented and everything was going well until COVID hit. And in March, the girl, Driftwood Farmhouse was her name, and she vacated and stopped paying the rent. So it's been vacant for 1 year, been actively on the market. I've been a realtor for 48 years, so I know a little bit about what I'm doing, and I had it on the market, still have it on the market, and I get lots of people coming. In fact, I get lots of people coming and looking, so a lot of people would like to have a business there in Southport, but nobody will commit to a lease. I've had someone that wanted to commit for 6 months, and it's just not worth it to me to have it's in perfect shape. I don't want it messed up and for me to spend thousands to have it redone. So it's been vacant for over 12 months now, and it's a hardship to keep paying the taxes and the insurance and everything, and then to have the town on top of that. I mean, I own quite a few properties in town, and to have them do this to the commercial real estate is really bad timing to do this. And if I could sell it and get $500,000, I'd be absolutely amazed.
many square feet is it?
It's 836 square feet.
Okay.
No park, mind you, it has no parking except the spots designated by the town in front.
I'm sorry, 825 or 835? I don't want to.
836.
836
According
square
to
feet.
it's an appraisal, yeah.
Okay, and one parking.
My architect at the time.
Okay.
So it's been vacant for a year. It's only 836 square feet. It has no parking. And then I look at buildings like 735 Post Road, which was Colonial Village, was next to St. Thomas's Church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that complex.
Right.
They had a 1,225 square foot, again, office condo. So I'm trying to use things that are like properties. It was a third larger, in perfect shape, with its own parking lot, and that sold for $400. And I think you have that, because I sent it all in and then followed it up with a hand-delivered packet with that in it.
Yes, I have. There's quite a, I mean, not compared to some that are 120 pages, but yes, you did provide. I see the another commercial condo. That's the 1735 Post Road.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
So that's, to me, a more valuable building because it's 12, first of all, the space is a third larger. It's got its own parking. Mine does not. Has no parking.
Okay.
Number 24 Thorpe Street was sold for $492. That was 1,116 square feet. It sold 1 year ago exactly, a little less than 1 year ago, March 21st last year. It's a freestanding building. It was in mint condition, been in it several times, with its own parking lot. That sold for $492, and you have a copy of that.
Okay.
There's a building that just went under deposit at 363 Pequot Avenue. So it just went under yesterday under deposit. So I didn't get you the comp.
Mm-hmm.
The taxes on that building are $18,286. The asking price was $799. So we can only imagine what it sold for. And the town has it assessed at $682,570. So with all these, and that one has its own parking lot, it's a mixed use, retail and residential. I mean, I'm not, without sounding sarcastic, I'm not pulling things out of the air. I really think I'm substantiating what I'm saying about my space. It's a wonderful little condo that I have,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a terrible time right now. I mean, I had 181 Old Coast Road in Southport on the market for almost 3 years. We just got a deposit, and it's going for $1.5 million. It's a gorgeous old Victorian building of 6,000 square feet with 16 parking spots and so on. So I don't know what else I can add other than what I told you.
Okay, so yes, I don't know when they valued this property, if they valued, what system. You did not have an informal hearing, or you didn't say that you did on your card there?
I didn't, no, I have not had any hearing on it.
Okay.
I sent in the paperwork, but they just sent it back saying your property still remains at the same assessment.
For the informal hearings you're talking about back in January?
Is that an informal hearing when you send it in? Is that considered an informal hearing?
The informal hearings, like you could have scheduled them in December and January to meet with.
Oh, no, then I did not.
With municipal valuations, Fabio and Karen. Okay, because they had indicated that they had reviewed all the commercial properties with, that Mr. Kieran had reviewed them. So I just wanted to find out if this one had been reviewed by him or not. Because sometimes they use the income approach, right, as opposed to the comparable sales approach when they're valuing commercial property. So that, I don't know with this one what approach they use. Sounds like to me you want to use the sales approach, not the income approach to value.
No, or the income approach. I have zero income for 12 months.
Right.
And I think that's kind of pertinent right now in today's day and age.
Mm-hmm. What did you get for rent prior to COVID or prior to your tenant leaving?
It's diminished over the last couple of years. I believe the last one was this woman who was 11 months into her 3-year lease. She was paying $3,000 and then I think $250 towards the taxes and the insurance. But prior to that, I was getting more.
Okay, so you were getting $3,000 a month plus $250.
No, saying $3,250.
$3,250 a month. Okay, and it was Driftwood Farm or something you said?
Driftwood Farmhouse.
Farmhouse. Okay. Was your
She used to be located on the Post Road, and then she came to me, and then the minute the COVID hit, she knew she would get no people allowed in the shop. She left, but I'm also owner with my sister of 251 Main Street in Southport, which is half commercial, half residential, and our commercial space was increased 51%. I just think that's extraordinary in 1 year, to do that. So to me, being a realtor and looking at houses, and I think that they really, really did the wrong thing this year by putting the onus on all the commercial properties, which are struggling. It's, landlords have to be able to stay afloat too.
Right. So that's what Mr. Kieran was saying he did with a lot of commercial properties when he did the informal hearings with them, was that he did speak with them about COVID and, adjusted some of the numbers appropriately during those informal hearings because he did all the commercial. So that's why I was asking you if you had the opportunity to speak with him. So I don't know if you would have had to file in order to get him or he just reached out to all of them. I'm not exactly sure, but I can find out and see, what was the reason why. And maybe they didn't do the ones under $1 million. Maybe he just did the ones that were over. That's very possible that he only did the Stop and Shops and the very large plazas. But I could be wrong. Yeah, I didn't. He gave a presentation about a week or so ago to the Board of Finance, and he really talked about how he valued commercial property.
Okay, I don't think he reached out to us about our larger building down on Main Street. Because my sister didn't, she's handling that appeal, so I don't know. I don't believe he did it.
Right, I don't know if you had to reach out to them. Typically in the informals, you need to go to them. The town does the mass appraisal, and then you say, okay, I want to talk to you about it. So then they schedule these, quote, informals where they have one of the, people reviewing the cards and everything, and then they call you, and then they can adjust it, because if they don't, they can adjust it before the grand list is signed the end of January. Once the grand list is signed, they can't adjust it anymore. Only the Board of Assessment Appeals can adjust it.
So, I see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess my biggest claim here is that because of the condition of the world right now, I cannot rent this space. And when you drive up and down the Post Road, you see the commercial properties with signs all over, nothing, and having a commercial listings myself that I can't sell.
Right.
I think that all has to be taken into consideration to be fair, because office space and retail space is only worth what you're going to get for rent. Otherwise, why do people own it?
Exactly, and there's no, it's not a combination, right? There's no residential above or anything. It's
it's just a freestanding spot next to Sammy's Pizza in Southport Center.
Okay, and you own that's owned separate from Sammy's. Sammy's now owns that building.
Yes, I sold him his house back in the day.
So this is technically a condo. Okay.
It is a retail condo.
Retail condo. Okay. I may reach out.
I believe it says that on the vision appraisal.
It does. Yeah, and you put property description of retail/office condominium. Okay.
Yeah.
I've just heard so many huge, large buildings, and It's different here, this is the first condo, so that's good.
Yeah, this is just a little one.
Sure, okay, so I just wanted to confirm for you, because like sometimes they do look at the income approach, so I just wanted to know that you typically get about $3,000 a month in rent. You said plus at $3,250, right? That's
Yes, 30,000 and then
$250.
towards the triple net, which is about less than a third of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much pre-COVID prices as well, so, okay.
Well, it was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, okay.
She left, she didn't pay after March 30.
Right.
She paid March.
Okay,
That was it. And I let her pay half,
right,
so it wasn't even the full price.
right, yeah, because, you know, if you get a reduction this year, you know, it's good for 5 years, so, you know, that's why, you know, we just need to make sure we're thinking long-term as well as short-term and figuring out, you know, how.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that, but this is a small, tiny space,
Right.
and if I can't rent it soon, it's hard to
Right.
pay $1,800 every quarter.
I hear you.
Expensive insurance and heat
Yeah.
and AC and electricity and advertising, trying to rent it.
And you haven't tried to sell it, right? You did not put it on the market.
I have not tried to sell it
Okay.
because I feel that I would get less than what it's really worth.
Right, I hear you. I would hold on to it too. I mean, when, you know,
Yeah.
things turn around, it's a beautiful spot. Yeah.
Normally, but
Yeah.
it's not right now. Now
Yeah.
it's a noose around my neck.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so I'm going to check a little bit more with that, with the, you know, like I said, with the appraisal company and see how they would have valued this otherwise. That would be helpful for me from an income perspective. You know, you certainly gave me the comparable sales data, so now I just need to make sure we have both of those numbers. So I think we're good. Do you have any other questions for me?
I appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully it'll work.
Yeah, we'll let you know, and I'm just going to read you a closing statement. If you don't have anything else you want to share, I will be presenting your petition to a majority of the Board of Assessment Appeals at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. All decisions will be made in March, but, well, I shouldn't say that, March or April now, because I know we're not going to finish next week. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court, and instructions on how to do so will be in your decision letter.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. All right, you have a good night. Okay.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Good night. I'm doing okay. How about you? Yeah, it's not so bad to get out of the house every now and then, right? So it would be nicer to go to the movies or out to dinner, but, you know.
We're getting there.
We'll take what we can get. We are. I just had my first shot this week. So.
I had my second one the other day.
Did you?
So,
yeah. It's coming along.
Yep, we are.
Oh, thank goodness.
It is what it is, though. We're part of history, though. You got to realize we are.
I know. I say that to my boys.
This is something that's going to be written down in the books.
My goodness. Okay, so I'm just going to stand up because sometimes it's hard to hear me with the glass and my mask. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'm going to hear your appeal tonight.
Okay.
And your appeal, assuming the lights are on, yep, is also being recorded over here.
Okay.
I'm going to state a few things for the record. Just correct me if any of it is wrong. It is, let's see, 6:50 p.m.
Okay.
And your appeal number is 501. Property address is 540 Tungus Hill Road. The owner of the property is Erickson and West, Inc. The town value is $568,400. You're requesting a reduction to $480,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then let's see. Next, I'm going to just confirm who you are. So, if you could state your name for the record, and then say whether you are the owner or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
My name is Kevin Westberg. I own the property at 540 Tungus Hill Road, Fairfield 06825.
Great. Okay, and if you just want to sign that paper in the middle there, I'll take that from you. And I'm going to, well, actually, I should wait till I swear you in, but I'm assuming you'll raise your right hand and say I do. So, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So I'll take that. Oh, yeah, sign there in the middle. Perfect.
I don't need a date or anything like that.
I can do that for you. Yep. And now is your opportunity to tell me why you don't believe the town's value of $568 is correct, and that we should reduce you to $480,000.
Okay, so all the evaluations in the local area, from sales to just actually listed several properties also on Tungus Hill that are at similar or even greater or at less value. So I think I have a fairly good case here to be presented.
Okay, so you're saying other properties that the town has valued them lower than yours?
No, they have, properties that have sold. Okay. I have 2 sets. Properties that have sold, that was my first thing. And in the interim, since I handed in my first set of papers, okay, I have another set here if you want. I can go in order that way.
Do you think, did you actually hand them in? So it's probably here in your file, right?
It could be, but
Okay.
there's been other stuff that has been added.
But nothing new tonight. They're pretty good about getting it all.
There is other new things tonight, but
Okay.
let me give you, did you receive, yes, you probably have the letter I wrote?
Yes.
Yes, we'll go in order,
okay?
And then that will be, I feel, the easiest.
Yep.
I made other copies once again if you have it. So the first property on the list is 831 Black Rock Turnpike, which I happen to be living on right now, and I have a property over there also. And that was recently sold. The field card that I tried to pull up again here is not updated, but it was sold. It was on the market for 381 days, and it sold for $455,000. Very similar property. It actually has about 1,000 square feet more. Okay.
Of land? Okay.
No, not land, of square footage of building.
Okay.
And I think building is more important than...
1,000 more square footage? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And that was 831 Black Rock Turnpike, and you said it closed in February of 21?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't always have it right on the card.
Yes,
okay.
right.
So that's the most like yours?
That is
okay.
Right as far as that goes, yes, okay. And then the next property which sold, let me get my piece out.
86 Tungus Hill Road?
86, okay, that has not sold. That was on, is presently listed, okay? And I'll go over that a little further in detail when I give you this other information. That is listed, it is a smaller property, but it's more up to date. And that's presently listed at $425,000.
And I should have asked you at first, what, I'm assuming you're using this for business and commercial property. So what's the business that's in that building?
One is an insurance company.
Okay.
And downstairs are healthcare people.
And healthcare.
Right. I used to have it as my office and I stopped
Okay.
years ago.
So 86 Huntsville Hill is your next comp. It's currently listed at 425. Smaller but more updated.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Then the other one, which is right around the corner, which is
425 Greenfield.
Right, Greenfield, which sold for $385,000 and $313,2000. It's 1,600 square feet.
And your square footage is?
2162.
I'm sure it's here on your card.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the fourth one is 531 Tungus Hill, which is directly across the street from my property, and that just recently sold for $350,000. It is a commercial garage, but its square footage is the same, but it is also same size property. Everything is very similar, other than it's a garage.
Right. Is that the one that's near the car wash there?
Right up the street. It's right on the corner of Tungus Hill, and if you right past the car wash, you know where the town garage is?
Town garage.
Yeah, you got the car wash. There's a brick building which the town owns.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and then the building next to that is mine. Across the street is the garage. Liquor store is on the left side.
Okay.
And then there's
upstairs over there somewhere. Okay.
Yep. Then there is another office building over there.
Okay.
So those are the four comps that I had at that given time. Okay.
And the 350 just sold recently, right? It was a foreclosure. Yeah, it was a car. Yeah.
Right.
I don't remember the guy's name, but
Yep, Nick. Okay.
Nick's garage.
Yep. I showed what I make on the property, which isn't a whole heck of a lot.
Okay.
That's my income. I mean, it shows on the form there, and that's my tax return right there that I put down.
Okay. Did you have an informal hearing at all?
Yes.
You did have an informal.
Yeah, they were up another $22,000 before.
So you did get a reduction.
I got a reduction, but we are, especially after what I just found out here, which I'm about to hand over to the paperwork for.
Okay. You got a reduction of $22,000.
So I'm not.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
That's okay. But
it was 18 to 20,000 somewhere in that ballpark.
With Mr. Kieran, you probably had that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did the commercial review. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I will let you give you this additional.
Oh, you actually, I have you as the authorized agent on the property. Is that right? Peter Donnelly?
Well, he was going, if he was going to show up, because I was going to have my knee operated on.
Yeah, right. Okay. So he did not. So he is not here.
No,
okay.
No, because.
Not used. Okay, I'm just going to write not used on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, supposed to have my knee replacement.
A nail, huh?
Yep. So well, because I ended up having a hernia operation instead.
Good Lord.
So now I don't do it till April. Okay.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I'll give you that.
More, another property that you want to talk
These are
about.
several.
Okay.
Several additional properties. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the property, let me get my sheet up in front of me. Okay, so the property that is on the other corner, I just found out is now listed, okay, for $799,000, okay, but that is 5,343 square feet, which is double, okay, more than double my lot size, square footage size.
Okay.
Okay, and it's appraised for $846,000, and break down the square footage, it's $158 square foot appraisal-wise versus mine is right now $568, and my square footage comes out to $262, so you can see it's substantial.
Right, yeah, the buildings are done on a curve, so at least for the residential, I assume for the commercial as well, so, you know, a square footage is naturally going to go, the price per square foot is naturally going to go down as the square footage goes up, because it's not a linear relationship if that makes sense.
It's still...
Yeah, but I see what you're saying. Yep.
Still considerably different.
Sure, and now you're saying there's another one listed, 76 Huntsville Hill is listed?
76 is listed,
Is on?
Yeah, 76 is listed. These are all on office.com, officespace.com that they're listed. And that is 4,000 square feet, and that's listed at $475,000.
Okay. And you're at 568, you want to go to 480, and you think the one that's most likely was 831 Black Rock Turnpike, and even though it just closed, it has 1,000 more square feet, but it's pretty much like your property, same land values and all that?
Yeah. And then the last one I put in there, I didn't do any evaluation on it. It's another house that's on, on the very back sheet.
All right, let's see.
That is...
76 Huntsville.
Where's the address of this thing?
113 Huntsville?
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's a mixed office and
mixed use. Okay.
Mixed use. But it's also is a lot larger. I didn't do a total on this because but it's appraised at $450.90, and it's.
How about the age of your building? Do you think you are newer or older than these other guys?
So there was an addition put on. They converted. Basically, it was converted from a house to a office building back in 1956, I believe it is.
Okay.
But the original, see, that's why it's a little misleading on that the field card. It says, built in 56. It wasn't built in 56. It was built in 26.
Yours was built in 26?
Yes.
Because of the addition? Was it completely remodeled?
No, well, yes and no. I mean, kitchens were taken out, I imagine, and all that. And
let me just take a look. Well, I know I have your card, but I'm going to look it up here anyway. Sometimes 540 Huntsville Hill, right?
Yeah.
Oh. It says built in 1968.
Yes, and that's totally incorrect.
Okay.
Totally.
So that's a card for us.
Totally incorrect.
Have you ever appealed before?
For this building?
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes, I did. I did. So when I bought it in 1995, I paid $126,000 for it. Okay.
Okay, 1920. It was built in 1926, not 1986.
Right.
Okay.
So.
You put an addition on it.
I did not do it.
Someone did an addition.
The Sieberts did. I bought the building from Sieberts, Larry Siebert.
I see Alan Talisnick and something. Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say this. Oh, yeah, it was 1995. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So the addition was pre that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it looks older than a 1986. Yeah. So that's going to change a lot of things, the depreciation. I would think there's going to be other things that are going to, that's going to affect, not going to affect your land value so much, but it will, well, I shouldn't say that. But, okay. And commercial forest, you know what that is. Okay, so let's get the card correction going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So actually, the town was going to buy the property in 1995.
Oh, really?
Okay. It was appraised at 186. They offered 158, and they decided at the last minute not to buy it. So, and he was tired at that point, and I got it for 126. Okay, he just wanted to get rid of it. And
wow.
so, but I came in and fought it. Said, you were only willing to pay $158,000, but you appraised that taxes at $186,000. So I think we have a problem here.
Right.
Yeah.
Court decision 1998. Okay. Did you take it to court in 98?
Well, whatever year it was, yes.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. No income and expense, so they added in 16. You didn't file an income and expense report, I guess, so they added something to it for that reason.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the BAA reduced it in 17. So that could be why you popped back up. I'm not really sure. And you got some relief at the informals. Okay, did you bring up the date at the informals or no?
These old things?
No, the year built on the building. No.
I did. He didn't. I believe I did. I'm pretty sure I did.
Okay. I mean, I put in some card corrections for my own property, and it got missed in the informals as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm asking everybody. Okay. All right. Let's see what we can do for you. I think you made your case. You certainly have some properties here, and you didn't. Did you provide anything about the income on the property? Because with commercial properties, sometimes we use sales prices, sometimes we use income. So as long as it's in here.
That's
in here already, right?
That's my tax on the letter there.
Okay.
On the bottom. Once again, that is the actual figures I sent into the IRS.
Okay, right there. Okay.
Yep. Which isn't a whole heck of a lot.
No. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
These were supposed to be my retirement properties, but it's not quite working out this way.
Well, COVID, you never know, right? COVID's driving people over here with Thompsonville,
Yeah, not the commercial property.
No.
It's going to be a while before recovery.
Before that gets old.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all new. I'm going to add these ones to your file. And you told me which comp you thought was the best for that. I'll have them, you'll sometimes have a hard time with the income part once that makes sense. But I'm also going to find out about your building. Okay.
Yeah. But so now actually the two new ones are the 531.
Mm-hmm. 527 and 76.
Yeah. Are even more, of a comp because they are, not necessarily. The other one on 831 is the same size. Everything is pretty similar there. Okay.
Right.
Well, actually, it's larger, but it's a similar type building.
Similar age.
Age, the whole 9 yards.
Uh-huh.
And then the other two are recently listed and...
Let me just look up 831 and see. Not that I'm not going to get behind, but let's see. I think they got me scheduled every 15 here. Let's see. But I'm curious. I can't help myself. I need to look.
It's 861. I mean, 860,000 is appraised for.
Right. And the year built on that building is 1918.
1918?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really?
That's what it says.
They did a lot of updating on that.
Yeah. So the depreciation is different. So that's that building alone. The land is valued at 303. So maybe it's a smaller parcel as well. Your land is more than that.
Yeah.
And then the building is valued at 208.
Mm-hmm.
And the outbuilding at 10. So for 218.
Once again, it's also on the market. I mean, that's what I'm basing my stuff on.
Right. But 831 sold. It just sold for 455. Right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
That one was built in 1918.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That one was built in that. I thought you were talking about
the 527 Thompson Hill?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that's on the market for 800,000. Right.
Yeah.
76 Thompson Hill is the other one that a little bit, and that's on the market for 4 or something. Let me just look that.
400. Yeah. When I tried to pull it up, I couldn't find it.
Well, there's 764 Thompson Hill Road. Do you think that's the number?
No, when I tried to pull a card on it, I couldn't find it, but it's on.
76 is something. That's a small Cape 764. So I don't know where the 76 is.
I'll find it.
Yeah. All right, if you can, if you do, send it back in to the assessor's office. They have an email address and drop it off.
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming, and I will read you my little closing statement, if that's okay.
Sure.
Let's see. Thank you for coming. I'll be presenting your case to a majority of the Board of Assessment Appeals for deliberation and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. Probably will be March, or at this rate, April. We've got 650, so we're not finished. I know we're not finishing this one. Everybody wanted to take a math, whatever. Anyway, if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't appeal again until the next reval in 5 years.
Yep.
If you don't agree with the board's decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court, and instructions on how to appeal in court will be in your decision letter.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Well,
Sounds
thank you
great.
very much.
Thank you very much.
You have a
for
great
coming
night.
in.
I hope
Yes,
it was
you
quick
too.
for you.
Good luck with your knee replacement.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Okay, have a good one.
All right, you too. Careful on the stairs there.
Yeah, thank you.
There's an elevator if you need it, okay?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Hello, come on
Hi, how are
in. Good, thank you. You can have a seat over there. We're trying to do the nice social distancing thing and keep
Are you
everybody.
my panel?
I'm your person.
Wow, wild.
Panel of one.
That's so cool. I thought I was expecting
All of us?
a whole room. Do you work for the assessor's office?
No, we're elected officials.
You what?
Elected officials.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
My
On
name
the
is Matt.
ballot.
What's your name? Kathleen?
Kathleen Griffin, yes?
So what are you elected? Like, what's your role?
Onto the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so 5-member board, and then there's 4 new extra people appointed this year by the RTM, just because it's a reval year, so we've got 650 appeals, so all 5 of us needed some help.
Uh-huh.
So we got a little extra.
Well, you know what? I appreciate what you do. You're, really, like in ancient Rome, service to the state was like the most noble thing. So I appreciate you doing stuff for the town and the people.
Thank you. Yeah, my family, I say, don't talk to me in March, right, guys? When April comes around, I'm good. The rest of the year, all of our work is in March. So it's just we don't make any plans. We don't do anything. We don't go anywhere. We don't get much sleep. But it's good, and it's a nice group of people. So it's good that they all work very hard. So.
Well, the assessor's office?
Our board.
Yeah, your board maybe.
Yeah, and we work with the assessor's office very closely as well. So
You do?
yeah.
But you're quasi-independent too, right? Because you have to.
Yes, we are. We're like I said, we're elected, so
Yeah.
there are state statutes dictate a lot of what we can and can't do, but.
Oh, and you're a lefty like me.
I am a southpaw. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna get you started because I'm getting a little bit behind already.
Sure.
So, okay, let's see. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. You're being recorded here on that box. Your appeal number is 169. Property address is 170 Brookfield Avenue. The owner of the property is Matthew Halleck. The town value on the property is $764,900, and you're requesting a reduction to $400,000.
Yeah, even less.
Okay.
It just sold, so for $455. So there's your market value.
Okay. Give me 1 second. So then I'm just going to ask you to confirm who you are, state your name for the record, and say whether you are the owner of the property or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the property.
My name is Matthew Halleck. I am the owner of the property.
Okay, great. And then I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Did Holly give you a sheet downstairs to sign? She probably forgot. Okay. There's a sheet. After I swear you in, you just need to sign it, but on the way out, if you remind me. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I'm going to say that I am not elected, so you have to. You are the owner. Okay, so now this is your opportunity to tell me why you think the property should be appraised at $400,000 by the town.
Well, it just sold for
Yeah.
$455, so the final number, 70% of that is $318.
So it sold for $455?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on what day?
well, we close in like 3 weeks. The contract was signed this month, so you could say March 10th.
Okay, so you haven't closed yet. But
We've signed the contract. We have not closed.
Okay, but you're going to close.
We're going to close the like April 10th. I think the date is.
Okay. And so, but you're asking for 400, even though you paid 455.
I mean, no, I sold it for 455. And
you sold it. Okay, but
yes,
you're
ma'am.
Still the owner.
Yes, I am. You know, if we're determining the market value.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you're still the. I was thinking it was the other way around. I was going to say because if it hasn't closed yet, you can't appeal it if you don't own it.
No, ma'am. I've owned it. I've owned it for 12 years.
Okay.
And I sold it for 455. So 70% of that is 318. So I think that should be your right number.
Yeah.
When I put down this form, it was before it was sold, but now it's sold. So now you have an accurate number.
Right. And we talk market value in here, which is appraised value. I know you get taxed on assessed, but it's easier for us to talk about market value.
Yeah.
So sure. So just tell me, because there's not much paperwork in here, tell me a little bit about the sale, how long it was on the market, arm's length transaction, all of that.
Sure. It was on the market for a year and a half.
It was on for 18 months?
Yes, ma'am. And it just sold now for, like I said, for 455, okay. So I am requesting 70% of that for 318 to be the assessed value.
Okay.
And what,
do your purchasers know that you're appealing the property?
They do.
They do. Okay.
So what really, more than that, so that's my basic request for that. So it's pretty obvious that if there's your market value, because that's what it's sold for.
Right. And did you just tell me what price was it on the market for? And
it was on the market for 475.
Okay, so.
But but it was on the market. I mean, that was like a year and a half. It was on the market.
At 475.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's MLS, obviously.
Yeah, no, it was actually a little higher in the very beginning. We dropped it.
Okay.
Because we didn't get any. Yeah.
Sure. Now, sometimes when we're trying to figure out, make sure it's an arm's length transaction, and it's a mixed use building. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. But we're actually, I have an appeal for that too. They're changing the use change. They're going to make it a 2-family, multi-family.
The new owners.
Yeah.
Okay.
The new owners. I'm meeting on April 1 with the Board of Appeals for the use change.
For the ZBA.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So it's mixed use now, and now they want to.
They want to make it a 2-family, multi-family, 2-family residential.
So how do you know how it was valued before at the 764? Was it an income approach or?
How they got that number?
Yeah.
That is what is really problematic. Because if you look at the numbers too, it looks like an EKG chart. It went from 535 from 327. So they increased it from 327 to 535, and then before that it was 398, and then before that it was 260. So it's gone from 260 to 398 to 327 to 535. That's crazy.
Right. It could be the worst. You put $200,000 into it, repairs from the water damage. See that? If you're looking at the building permit records.
Yeah.
And a bunch of remodels.
And that was right. And that was the first issue. So, when she did that, and I want to talk about that because that's the kind of thing that's like problematic for me. And I know it goes back several years, but when I look at this this process, it is disturbing because I actually had to come in here to the assessor's office because they sent that personal property form
right
that they send in December. And these are the kind of things they sort of add up. I mean, I have this whole the things like this, like why do you send that in December? That's thick. It's hard to do. You got to get your accountant to do it. You got to depreciation of your fleet and your equipment. It's hard. It's like would it be so hard to be sending it out in November or in October? You have to send it out in the middle of December and have it due at the end of December.
There's now an online one, so once you do it once, it's good. Like it's very easy.
But it's not because you have to calculate depreciation. It takes time. I mean, it's just it's not fair. And so I came in and to talk to the lady to do the form, and I was like, yeah, the building was destroyed by the storm, And they had that cyclone bomb in January 2018. It destroyed my building. And I rebuilt the whole building. I was like, it's all beautiful. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then without even saying anything to me, I leave, and all of a sudden, I get this assessment. She jacked it up from $260. She put it down at $398.
Yeah, she brought it up after she saw the building. Yeah, she brought it up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a whole lot, right?
Yeah. Well,
50%, over 50%.
Yeah, well, it could be because of the 196 number for the repairs in 2018. But you're saying those.
Well, I rebuilt the building. That's what I was explaining to her, and she didn't go out. They didn't send anybody out. She didn't come and see. She just did it.
She didn't come. It says that view by physical inspection is what it says on the card.
Nobody came out.
4/25/2019. It says VVPI.
No, it was the woman whose office at the end. That woman with the papers up to the top there.
Paula Jensen. Mm-hmm.
And
PJ. It says PJ on the card. And do you have your field card in front of you?
No.
Okay. Let me print out singularly.
Can I take a picture of that?
I'm gonna print one out for you. It's the easiest thing for me to do.
So
which the property address is 170 Brookfield, right?
And so I get the letter, and they put date of issue 2/4 didn't arrive. It arrived in the middle of February, and it's due February 20th. I'm like, there was no turnaround time. It's another example of why do you do this? No time. So I came down here and I talked to the assessor about that. And I was like, that wasn't fair. She was just sitting in her office, and she wrote it down and did this. Nobody came out to visit me. And then out of nowhere he's like, well, you missed your chance to appeal, and sorry about the,
Yeah, we're tied by statute, the dates and all that, because it's people's taxes, right? I mean, it's very important. So the statutes are pretty strict on that.
Right.
Okay,
no,
so
I understand
here's your card,
Thank
okay,
you.
and here's all the history, and here's your visit history. So there's your VBPI. I believe that means view by physical inspection. PJ is Paula Jensen, so she came out.
She did not come
re-inspection. Okay, I don't know. I'm just reading I don't know. I'm just still reading what the card said. And then here's the dollar amounts on your permit. So there she sees the 196.
Wait, she dated this. Look, she dated this 4/25. The assessment, the letter I got with the increase was in February.
Where do you see the 425?
Right here.
Oh, 425.19, right.
But the date of the letter when she raised it was from February. She did it right away. I went to see her in December. They sent me this letter in February.
And that may have been on these other two back there. I don't think that would have been from the April one.
So
I think it probably was those two other changes that they sent it to you for.
Yeah, this is when I went to see her.
Okay.
12/7, 12.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there's two. I only came once.
She could answer that. Yep.
All right, but she sat there. She didn't come out to look.
Okay.
And nobody made an appointment. So, and that's the kind of process that I find very frustrating, where it went up over 50% inexplicably, or behind my back without an assessment, and then it dropped again, and then it turned around and went way up through the roof again. And it brings to mind, there's questions about process here, right? I mean, if this is all going to the Munival, to Fazio, the company over there, I mean, are they doing all the assessment? Who's looking at them? Are they going on Zillow and just looking it all up, or are they going out and actually?
They're licensed appraisers. So
they're what?
They're licensed appraisers.
I understand that, but who is looking at their work? Because look at what's coming back, right? Who is auditing the appraisers? Is anybody?
Well, the assessor's office does these in-between changes. When you do work on your property, the office down there comes and does this. And then people come back to the board if they don't like it. But it's okay. I just want to make sure we get to what you really want to do here. And I can have the assessor's office call you and explain to you once you take a look at that card about the process down there. That's administration. We're here to make sure that your value is correct. And you want to go to 400. And so I just need you
to... Well, not 400. I wrote that down because I didn't know. That's a whole other question. Why are you asking me? It's like, it's going to be zero.
People have said zero.
I put down 4, because I was guessing on what it was worth.
Okay.
And it went for 455.
Okay, then if I were you, I would use the 455 number because I think that
Yeah.
that's reflective of market value. I wouldn't say zero, because the board's going to say, because it's your job to tell us, there's a mass appraisal system, some adjustments, and a mass appraisal comes up with a number. So the system came up, based on an algorithm of 764,900. We're here to say, for you to tell us, 764 isn't right, I think 400 is right, I think 450 is right, and here's the reasons why. And so you're telling me, just because it just sold, it was on the market, and you're just telling me, sometimes with commercial property, there's the income approach versus the sales approach. If it was single-family, sales is really the only approach we use. We don't, but because it's commercial, they may have used the income approach to value your property. I don't know, so that's why on commercial, people will they tell me both. They'll look at some comparable sales, and then they'll also, say, okay, well, what do you get for rent? And then we look at what you get for rent from your income and expense report, right? Because that's a cost approach to valuing your property. So we look at both with commercial. So do you have rent information or just the, or just the sales? It's okay, you can,
Yeah, so 455 is our number.
The 455, you want to change your requested value to 455, okay.
Based
on
on
the sale, okay.
Right.
Okay, and did you file income and expense reports? You did when you were supposed to, the personal property and all that, or whatever you're supposed to file that in the.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, your land alone is valued at 449, so. Okay, so, right, your land alone is valued at 449, 400, that's the hard part about that, I'm not really sure, but that's maybe because it's commercial. They're going to convert it to a two-family, right? That's what they hope to be able to do. So, if they do that, then, then they'll be in a different category altogether. They'll be treated solely like real estate. They won't be considered, commercial if they get the zone change or whatever, the use change on the property.
So, again, yeah, so there you have it.
Okay.
But again, my major issues are with the process, right? Where something like this is happening, and who's looking at their work?
That the first selectman's office.
Are they really doing that? Is there really an audit of the assessors?
I don't know.
Because this is how the whole town runs on this money, right?
Yeah, well, the assessor technically works for the CFO, the chief financial officer, and then the chief financial officer reports to the first selectman.
Who's the CFO of the town?
You had to ask me. He's new. Jared. Oh boy.
That's okay. I can look it up.
Yeah.
Because I would like an audit. I would like to really have a forensic audit and start looking at this work, because if this is part of the process, it's very discomforting. And these are the numbers that the whole town runs on. So.
Well, that's why, like I said, that's why the statutes allow us to be here to help you individually, and anything that's wrong with the bigger process, that's a complaint to the town.
That's what?
That's the town would look at that. If there's a problem with the assessors, their license, right? Their license could be taken away if they're doing things incorrectly. Or the first select woman to say you're not hiring good people.
I think the problem is nobody's saying no. It's just nobody's really supervising.
Right.
It's just sort of all going through.
Well, I mean, I can't say yes or no to that, because I know that Paula does some very good work. So I can't say that, and just because you haven't shown me the income for your property, she could have been valuing it based on your income, and you're not providing me with that, you're just providing me with a sales number. So that's the other possibility, is she could be valuing you based on the income approach, right?
No, she didn't say anything at the time.
She didn't tell you, yeah.
No, she didn't say anything was going to happen. This just arrived later.
Right, okay. Okay.
And so it's really something that I think is worth pursuing on many levels. Not just the frustration with the opacity and all the processes that are frustrating, but this is something we have to be hyper vigilant about, because these are the numbers that the whole town runs on, and this is the money, right? And it's a lot of money, right? And we have to really be. It's ripe for mistakes. I wouldn't care as much if it was, the sewer department or even public works. But this is the assessor's office, right? And this is what determines all the money
Because
coming in and
with
out.
commercial properties, it's complicated because you've got the income and expenses, you've got the income approach as well as the land value approach to value.
It's not, there's no talk about that. It's 0.70 of the market value. That's what you base it on. There's no talk in here about income and rent and things like that. It's like, what is
On
it?
commercial property, we do. Yeah, how they value commercial property. It might not be on that sheet, but they do talk about it somewhat on the website. And the state statutes talk about it as well. So they can value commercial property several different ways. So we've been asking them to be able to, to put more information, helpful hints up for homeowners and business owners so they understand how they work.
Well, let me ask you this. How am I allowed as a citizen, if I want to see all the records of everybody in town, let's say I want to see a spreadsheet and I want to see everything going on.
Well, it depends how they store it. They're not required to put a spreadsheet together for you, but all of the information is subject to freedom of information. You can request anything you want. So if you want a data dump of the assessor's database, you can have that. You can't have Social Security numbers and very personal information. That's not allowed.
No, I just want to know for each property how much it was assessed for over a period of time.
You can make a request of the Freedom of Information request from we have an FOI officer. He works in the HR department, and people make Freedom of Information requests all the time because it's government. It's open information.
Right. This is our.
Yeah, so you can absolutely request that. Like I said, you can't ask them to put it in the format that you want. But if they have it in that format, they'll give it to you, and if not, they'll give you the raw data. So they'll give you a dump.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. No, and that's why you're being recorded tonight, right? Because it's all public information.
That's how it should be.
This is a public meeting, so people can hear your testimony. People might be dialed in listening right now,
Yeah.
You don't know. Yeah.
Well, this is how I look at it. It's almost like a deal with the town of Fairfield. You want to come here and live in this fine town. You got to pay. Here's the mill rate, right? I'm going to have to pay $12,000 a year in taxes, and this other one here. In my 25 years of living here, I paid $400,000. Happily, and they are here to provide and to administer the services. They work for us, right? This is all money going in, and we'd like them. And I'm entirely within my right as a citizen to expect transparency and a smooth process and honesty. And a top-notch job, especially because of the money. It should be like buttoned up down to like the square foot, down to the dollar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's mass appraisal, but I hear you. Then we have this process to look at you individually.
It should be like so tight, and it's not. It really isn't. And I think it deserves an examination. I really do. And I'm kind of looking into doing that and seeing on behalf of the town. You know what I mean? Because it's not acceptable. It's just not. Again, on that note, I'm actually a very upbeat guy. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'll ask her for the form.
Yes, please sign up
This
for when
pen
you
is
go
normal.
out. I think you had one. That other one was there. Yep.
This one's mine, right? Okay.
Yes, you'll get it. We'll decide as a board, and you'll get a decision letter in the week.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I saw something in the letter, like they meet on their own and decide.
We meet as a board. Yep.
Okay.
And decide, and then you'll get a letter. Yep, within 7 days of our decision, letting you know what it is and, what the next steps are.
Okay.
If you don't like our decision. If you get denied, you can go back next year. If we grant you, it's good for 5 years.
I sold it anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You're going to be out soon anyway, so.
Yeah.
They can come back too.
All right, thank you.
All right, have a good night.
When do they decide?
It's supposed to be in March, but it's going to be March and April. We won't make all our decisions.
Sometime in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, should be by the end of April. Okay. I've got a phone call at 7:30. So
yeah, he's emailing me.
Yep.
Okay.
If Polly sees me a little behind, sometimes I just need a little question.
Just follow up.
Yep, nope, I'm calling right now. Thank you. Hello, this is Kathleen Griffin calling from the Board of Assessment Appeals for Christina.
Yes, hi. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to go into my office.
Okay, sure.
Okay, let me get through very quick, and then you got to give me a minute, okay? Yes. No, I'm not going to carry you. Here, do you want it to listen? Okay, this is right. Okay, well then, better wait. Okay, thank you. I'm just going into the office. I'm just gonna be 5 minutes. I actually said you guys technically didn't need to call because everything I submitted basically speaks for itself, but they told me we had to have a conversation, I guess, for it to be considered, in review or something.
That's correct. Yep, it's a very legal, it's a legal process. So let me just run through the steps as quickly as I can for you. So I'm just going to read a few things into the record. You are being recorded, so just correct me if anything's wrong. Your appeal number is number 7. Your property address is 163 Windsor Road. The owners of the property are Christina and Ming Troiano. The town valued your property at $437,900, and you're requesting a reduction to $400,000.
Yes, I don't remember the exact amount, but I think that sounds about
Does that sound right? Okay, great. And then the next thing I'm going to do is verify who you say that you are, who you say you are. So please state your name for the record and whether you are the owner or a duly authorized agent acting on behalf of the owner.
I am Christina Triano. I am one of the owners. The other owner is Ashley Ming. Do you need him to say anything or no?
Nope, you're good as long as you're one of the 2 owners, so that's fine. And then I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and I'm going to swear you in. Okay, I know I can't see you, but we need to do this, and this is required also by the statute, so. Because it's testimony, okay? So do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now's your time to tell your story. I know you submitted the paperwork, but the public, if they're listening on the line, can't see, we need to hear it from you as well. So if you can kind of walk me through what you submitted and what you're, why you're requesting the $400,000 and not the town's $437,000.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I just want to the $437,000. That's what you were saying that. Yes. Okay. I remember. Sorry.
That's okay.
So they basically just a couple of reasons. I actually am not even in the office anymore because it's going off the top of my head. One, this house has not had any updates. I actually know the last 2 prior owners, so among them were the Gaffneys, and then the people that we bought the home from, the Hollands. I've had conversations with them since the Gaffneys and potentially before, because I haven't gone back that far. There's been no changes, as far as interior of the house, but I know you guys can't see that. So I don't feel that the house or the assessment actually reflects the fact that it's pretty outdated. The kitchen especially. And I've just been comparing with some of my neighbors, looking at the houses that are, I know a lot of them in our area are pretty much higher, but those ones have more bedrooms, are updated, or have central air, or have solar panels, things that make it that they should be raised up higher. So just in my estimation, I didn't feel that our increase was proportional. The other part of it is in terms of if you look at what the house has sold for, that has not changed at all. It literally, I think, and I put in there in my notes that it sold for almost exactly the same. We just bought it 6 or 7 months ago, July, whenever that was, as the people who bought it before us. They didn't make anything. So that reflects the fact that the property hasn't changed at all.
Okay, so
even
Sure. So you bought it in July of 2020?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you pay for it?
We paid, hold on a second, I think it was $485, which is exactly the same as what the people before us bought it from. Maybe they made $500 on it. So that hasn't changed either in terms of market value. I know market value and assessment value aren't exactly the same, but just in terms of looking at proportional increases.
Right, but let me just explain one thing to you. Because we look at market value, we don't really look at how you compare to your neighbors, and I know it doesn't seem fair that way because your neighbors might be appraised too low by the town. We really look at what the house would have sold for if it was on the market on October 1st of 2020. And so the town thinks your house would have sold for $437,900 on October 1st of 2020. But you paid $485 this summer. So unless you told me, you way overpaid and somebody took advantage of you, it's probably not a good idea for you to continue, I'm just saying, because we can raise you to 485 because now we know that that's what someone was willing to pay for it. I don't know that you want to be raised, but we do have the authority to raise people's appraisals. So,
two things. One, the person that I spoke to from the town told me that by doing this hearing that you absolutely can't raise it, so that the worst case scenario, we stay where we are.
that's not, I don't know who told you that, but I don't believe that's how the statute reads. We have the authority to raise as well. So, okay.
When I handed the paperwork, I asked that question before I actually put it in hand.
Okay.
I said, this cannot hurt me, right? It can only help me. I said, there's no way that you can go any higher. And they said, that's absolutely right, like 100% sure of that.
Did you hand that to somebody at the desk?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm going to get confirmation for you on that. But the statute, and it's pretty clear, you go on the state statutes online, it says the board has the authority to raise as well as to lower. So that's why in the past I've had people come in, and I recommend that they, withdraw theirs, because if the other board members decide, oh, well, look, she's $50,000 too low, and she paid it right close to October 1. So
everybody's is lower. What you guys come up with is much lower than what they actually paid for it. And the other thing is down the block, a house that just recently, only finally just sold. It was on the market for like 7 or 8 months, starting prior to when you did yours. And that house is way nicer than ours. I went in and looked at it. So there's that. You guys also have our house listed as a 4-bedroom. It's not a 4-bedroom. There's a room that's an office. I think it's sort of on the borderline of being able to be considered a 4-bedroom. It does have a window. It's on the main floor.
Okay.
But it doesn't have like the closet specifications. So technically it is an office. Like I said, I think you can label it or call it legally a bedroom. But again, in terms of the other homes that are the exact replicas of ours, all of those are listed as 3-bedrooms. Like literally exact layouts and everything. I can give you like the addresses. I think I put them in there.
Okay.
They're split levels. So that's the other part of it. It's like
split. Okay.
4-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom. It impacts how it's assessed, and I do think that we overpaid. And then the other part of it, I know this is probably not a factor that you can consider because it's like a murky thing in terms of like, hey, we picked this house because the taxes were under $8,000. It was in our price range. That's why we picked this area as opposed to like maybe something else. We looked at a house that was like $10,000 in taxes,
right.
But like was about the same base price. So like it just feels unfair that like we just bought this and then my husband and I both got laid off right after, this fall. So part of it is also just taking into account that like if we can't afford our taxes, who knows how long we can stretch things out. If we end up going into foreclosure, that's not good for anyone, and that's not good for the neighborhood. So I don't know if that's a factor you can consider, but I did just want to lay that out there. Obviously, we don't think that that's going to happen, but it's certainly possible, and it's something that, like, in taking into account the overall, like, community aspect and what's beneficial to everyone.
Right.
I guess, so that's really it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to clarify that and then, give you the opportunity to withdraw your case if you wish to, but I'm not sure why they would have said that to you because I've been on the board for 5 years and, I'm pretty clear on the statutes. We've never done it, but, we do have the authority to do that. So it just, we're looking at individual properties for market value, and I agree it's frustrating when your neighbors are probably under not paying their fair share, right? But it's a mass appraisal system, so some people are going to be over, other people are going to be under, some people are going to be spot on, and we're here to correct the people who are, off the curve significantly, are getting taxed too much.
We're not. That's the whole thing, right? So the taxes have been the same as they have been, let's say, for the last 5 years, right? The people who bought the house 5 years ago bought it for the same price we did.
Right.
So let's even say that the market actually reflected what it really was, which I don't think that it does because, again, everybody's home. Like, I looked at all the things on, what is it, like Vision, right, that you guys have?
Yeah, we use Vision, yeah.
Yeah, so your numbers are all, like again, like looking at it proportionally, but let's just say your assessment is at least $50,000 lower than all the homes that have recently sold and what they actually sold for. So if I'm thinking of like proportionally, then ours should also like sort of reflect that in terms of like if our house is in the $400,000 range, but another one's in the $600,000 range, that one is $50,000 less than what they actually paid for.
Mhm.
You know, shouldn't ours like be accurate? You know, like so on a sliding scale that matches that. But also the other thing was 5 years ago when they bought this home, if the market value was the same that it is now, why wouldn't the taxes have been higher then?
It really depends on the system that was used at the time to figure out, you know, that it's a computer, right? It's called a mass appraisal. They don't go to every house and value each one individually because they have 20,000 of them. So they use a computer model to get as close as they can. And then the Board of Assessment, that's how all the towns in the state do it. And then, you know, they do their best until January, end of January, and then the Board of Assessment Appeals is here to help those people where the model really hurt them individually. So we're just talking to individual property owners about their particular case. We don't help we're not involved in how the assessor built his model. He has certain, he has very strict guidelines that he has to follow with the state. He has to test the model. There's only certain data he can use. But it is a model. It's called a mass appraisal. So that is probably why. Some people are over and some people are under, and it's a formula, and they try to get it as close as they can, but it's not going to be perfect. And we're just here to help the people who are, aggrieved by the process, who really are, And like I said, we can correct people who may be really wrong, and we can make them higher. That's what we've been told that. So I'm just surprised that somebody told you it wasn't the case. So
what about like taking into account like interior and like no home improvements and outdatedness and stuff that would actually lower the value of a property?
Well, again, we're looking at what it would have sold for on October 1st, 2020. That's what we're really looking at. That's what we're trying to get to. If your house was on the market on October 1st, 2020, what would it have sold for? And because you bought it in July for $485. And, we know COVID's been a busy market, but everybody's in the same boat. Like, everybody went up because of the COVID market, right? Everybody was paying a lot more, so prices were up.
Right. If you take into account the house that was 3 houses down from us on Greenbrier, if we put our house on the market in October, it would not have sold. That house just sold, I think they just closed a week ago, and the realtor said it was on the market for 6 months. It went on shortly after our house, and they kept lowering the price and lowering the price and lowering the price.
And what did what did the Greenbrier one sell for?
Around 5, I think, a little bit less maybe.
Okay.
It's the one with the solar panels.
Right.
And that house was much more updated than ours.
Right. Okay, it's just really hard when you bought it. Everyone else is going to look at it and say, well, they bought it, in July for $485. So why do they think today it's worth $400? Did something did they have a fire? Did they have a flood?
No,
right.
The reason is mostly because I learned more about the neighborhood after we moved in and seeing my neighbors' homes and comparing them with ours, even the exact split levels.
Right.
Where I'm like, God, they knocked down a wall, this whole kitchen is totally open, and this house was only, it sold for $30,000 more than ours. I would have paid more than $30,000 for this house because I feel that this one is $100,000 better than our house.
Right.
So that's where I sort of came up with it, where it didn't feel, like I said, proportional.
Right.
And the exact replicas of ours are not being valued at much higher than what ours are.
Right.
I feel they should be valued significantly higher.
We could maybe raise all of them as well. I believe we have the authority to do that. So maybe we will. I know. And we're hearing a lot of stories about that. So, like I said, I think we have the authority to do that. Yeah.
Then maybe I wouldn't feel that we had such a basis for it, but even the lady right next door to people right next door to us, their house, they've done a lot of improvements, and theirs didn't go much up at all compared to what they were paying. And they've been here for several years. And the people also right across from us, actually in 2 parts. One is a huge mansion. It's an $800,000 house, and the other one, they're in contract now for $750,000.
Yeah.
Both of those houses are way better than ours. You can't, not even in the same realm.
Right, so they're not comparable to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so those houses are sold for, let's say, I think there's $250,000, $300,000 more than our house. But I feel they're worth $500,000 more than our house.
Yeah.
But again, that's just my opinion, but that's looking at them as being like, I think one's like, it's like 4 bedroom, 4 bath.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, so like 4 baths is a huge difference. Ours is only 1.5 baths. That's like almost no houses in our neighborhood are 1.5 baths.
Okay.
Without even a second full bath. So I think that's also a factor maybe that should be considered.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
I
hear
don't
ya.
want ours to be safe.
Yeah, I hear you. And we do this every 5 years, so if you don't correct them now, we will, they'll come back and, they're going to go in everybody's homes next time around. This time they didn't go into every house. The next time they're going to go in every house. So it will get, it will change. The proportions will change next time if they're not, can't be corrected at this point. So.
Yeah, like 1.5 baths is a real
difficult.
difference.
Yeah.
People, again, I didn't know that. Like I just didn't know enough about the homes in the neighborhood. I'm only a second-time home buyer, and like we really didn't know like a whole lot of what we were doing, except that we liked the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And and there wasn't a lot on the market at the time.
Right.
So we did okay.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted the neighborhood, and we weren't taking into account that we should just maybe have waited. I don't know.
Okay.
But again, I'm sort of torn now if I should formally say that I'm withdrawing because I may have hurt my kids by saying any of this. But I would like clarification if you truly do have the authority to raise rates based on this conversation.
Yeah. Like I said, we have never done it before. I just believe that I said that to homeowners before. That you may want to consider withdrawing. So I will get clarification on that for you and have the assessor's office contact with you, and then you can decide if you want to do that.
Perfect.
Okay. And I also understand you didn't do this to hurt yourself, so I get that too.
No,
so.
that's why I asked it before I said, here you go, here's the packet.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because I talked to a lawyer about it, and he was the one that said, I'm not going to, it doesn't make sense for me to make your own case. If you're passionate about it, you should do it. But you can't hurt yourself. So, and then he said, but you can ask them that when you drop the papers off, which I did.
Yep. Okay. Well, listen, I'm just going to go, I will have them get back to you on that. But either way, I'll represent your case before, if you don't withdraw, before, the entire board will make a decision sometime in March or April, and you will get a notice in the mail within 7 days of the decision. If you're denied, you could come back next year. If you are granted reduction, you have to say you can't come back for 5 years. And either way, you can always take the town to court, and how to do so will be in your decision letter. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
I appreciate your time.
No problem. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Yes. Thank you. Good evening. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. You can have a seat over there. Oh, good. Got two of you. All right.
Yeah. Hello. How are you?
That's okay. I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of the 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I'm going to hear your appeal today, and your hearing is also being recorded right there on that lovely telephone there. So,
Telephone, what's that?
yes, that phone's a speakerphone, a few things. The public can listen in live if they are very excited. There's not enough basketball on or something.
Well, on TV, why? It's amazing.
Very exciting. Yeah, and it'll even be on the website, and people can listen to it later. So.
Okay, great.
Anyway, I'm going to read a few things into the record first, and just please correct me if any of it's wrong. This appeal number is number 617. Property address is 75 R North Street. The owner is Tycast Properties, LLC. The town has the property valued at $819,700, and you request a reduction to $600,000.
Right.
Is that accurate? Okay, great. And then the next thing I'm going to do is make sure you are who you say you are. So please state your name for the record and whether you are the owner or a duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner.
Okay.
We got both of you, yeah.
Sure. William Llewellyn, owner. Don Tesserello, appraiser and agent.
Okay, great. And did she give you a sheet downstairs
Yes.
to sign? Okay, so I'm just going to have you both sign that. I'm just going to swear you both in first, and then you can sign that for me. So, do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. And I'm sorry, let me just add your name here, Bill. What was your...
Dominic Tesserello. C-K.
That part I got. How about the last name?
Pastorello.
Right, pastor like in the church, and then... Okay.
Pastor, yes.
Yellow. Okay, great.
I have to sign this also.
Yes, please, yeah, and if you can put your name on there. Yeah. Okay, now is your opportunity to tell me why the town's value, you believe the town's value of $819,700 is not correct and it should be reduced to $600,000.
Well, actually, I did we filled the application out with prior to the appraisal. I completed the appraisal. It came in at $566 actually, which is really basically the sale price that Bill purchases for in 2018. So I have comparable. So I did an appraisal report, and I have.
Sure. So are you changing your requested value?
It's 566.
From 600. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that was prior to the completion of the appraisal. But
okay. So let me just jot that down on the minutes because we do track what you're asking for. That's a requirement in the statutes. There's a lot of statutes to follow, but that's one of them is 566 is your new requested value?
Yeah.
Okay.
The basis really is twofold. One is the purchase price, which was an arm's length transaction, which was $570,000, and that was back in 2018, right? It was back in 3/23/2018.
Oh, I thought you said 2016. Now you purchased it in 2018.
2018 for $570,000. And Bill, I spoke to Bill. It was an arm's length transaction. It wasn't a foreclosure. It wasn't a forced sale by any means. So it was negotiated on a person-to-person basis. But the most relevant information is the comparable sales I have here. I have 4 comparable sales.
And I'm sorry, you paid
$570.
$570, but you're requesting $566.
I mean, no, $566. But I mean, it's basically, basically.
Yeah, that's fine. I just need
the same thing, basically the same thing.
Yeah. So you pay $570 in 2018. What month in 18?
March.
March of 18. Okay. Okay. And that's one of them. And then you said it was a negotiated arm's length sale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now you have an appraisal saying something. Okay.
Well, I mean, $566. Basically the sale price.
Sure.
$566 within a
okay.
year of the close.
Yep. And so now you have something else you.
So now I have the sale price. I mean, some comparable. One comparable in particular. 158 Kenwood Avenue in Fairfield.
Okay.
Sold in February of 2019. It sold for $700,000. 7628 square feet, similar to our subject, which is 6216 square feet.
I'm sorry, you're 6216?
Yeah.
Okay.
So very similar, and it's also similar in that the property was, Bill's property has both office space and warehouse space. So, I mean, the warehouse space is much more valuable. But he's limited to about 3,000 square feet of office space. I mean,
so each one's about 50-50?
Yeah, so 50-50. So this is and I think that's really pretty important in terms of the comparable sales.
Yeah. So your first comp is 158 Kenwood, sold in February 2019 for $700,000.
No, it wasn't the first. No, I'll give you the report. Yeah, let me give you this report.
Okay, great. Do you have your own copy or no?
I don't have it with me. No, I just figured I was going to give you this report from it.
Okay.
I could tell you that.
Do you know what the number? I mean, you can give it to me when you need it. Because I kind of want you to read it into the record
I can read it.
Yeah. So if you go through with me, I'll take some notes and then you can leave it with me.
I should have wanted another copy for you, but
that's okay.
Basically, the sales adjusted at a price per square foot basis after adjustments for condition, location, so on and so forth. The 3 sales are used. 74 Linwood Avenue was used. That sold for $1,550,000, and that had 14,488 square feet.
What was the square footage on the first one, on that 158 Kenwood?
That was 7628 square feet.
7628, okay, and that was office and warehouse as well, or is it
Yes,
different?
office and warehouse.
Office and warehouse, okay.
Linwood is the same, but
Office and warehouse, okay.
utility and condition was superior in Linwood.
Okay.
High ceilings, I think they had a lift, and there was some other. Your property is limited in terms of.
Yeah, we don't have a dock, it's just a garage.
What kind of business do you run?
A printing business?
Printing, okay.
It's really mostly storage, and the warehouse is storage, so it really has limited utility in terms of warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
These other properties may have superior in that.
Okay.
So, for example, Linwood was superior. So adjusted price per square foot on Linwood was $87 a square foot. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The second comp was 107 Ardmore, which is on the block, sold for $1 million back in March of 2017. That one is
March of 2017?
yeah. Now that was 8196 square feet, but again, this one has superior utility and also superior condition, and also lot. It was a larger lot, so there's other aspects that could be utilized for that property. So.
Okay. Do you have any sales in the last year or so?
Well, my best sale, I think, was 158 Kenwood, which is right with
In February of 19.
February 19th. Obviously, these commercial sales don't come up as often as the residential properties do. So that was the best sale.
And you adjusted the 700 down to some number?
No, the price per square foot on that was 91 per square foot. So basically, my conclusion was that on the the back there, we have property was conclusion. It is included at that 5216 square feet times $91 per square foot, 565, which is rounded at 566.
Okay.
Which then again, it's in line with the purchase price of 570. So basically, that's what I'm including that the sale price with the price would be as
Okay.
a reval.
Okay. Now with commercial too, sometimes sometimes they look at the
income approach. Well, I eliminated the income approach only because he's an end user.
Yeah.
There's no real income. As an end user, so I didn't apply any type of income on to the property.
All right. Anything else you want to tell me about the property?
I'll look at the bill, see if I hear.
Age, condition,
No, it needs a roof, but we knew that when we bought it. We moved in, the only thing we just put paint on the inside. So wasn't any upgrades or anything to the property.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and if you were to say that the closest comp for you, because some of these larger ones at $1.5 million and, a 2017 sale are a little bit difficult. I know that's harder to find a commercial, but they're a little bit harder to adjust, from $1.5 million and get yourself to 566 if you do it solely based on square footage and land. It's on a curve, right? It's not a one-to-one.
Well, if you look at the adjustments, it's explained.
Yeah, I'll take a look at those. Yeah, but Kenwood is close to Ardmore, right? I think I know where,
like I said, I think that was my.
That's your best comp. I always ask people, what's your best comp, and then.
And the guys we bought it from were in real estate.
They were.
So that we would have thought that, if it was worth more, they would have tried to get more, even though it wasn't even on the market.
Oh, okay. So it never was listed.
It never was listed.
Okay. It was you say it was arm's length because you didn't know them, but.
Yeah,
But
someone told us that they might be
Okay.
interested in selling, so we spoke to them.
No broker fees or anything involved?
No, it was an easy transaction for our attorneys.
Okay, that's everything.
Anything else? Yeah, I'll take that if you don't mind. We'll add that to the record, and everything is available online, everything that you give us. So we need to know that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Signed that for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you. That was very quick.
Very
Yep.
quick.
Okay, good.
All right, thank
Have a
you.
good night. Thank you.
I think it's their pen. I don't know.
Yeah, there was one pen there, it's black or
I'll
something.
leave it there,
Yeah,
I'm, you know.
yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Just Bertini for 7:45 is not here.
Yeah, it says Chris Russo is his authorized agent. I see the paper in here.
Okay.
Do you see that? So I wonder if it got rescheduled to, maybe, did I see Chris Russo? I thought I saw him come into John's room.
He did.
Okay.
He is now gone.
Chris Russo is gone. Okay.
Yes. But Mr. Paul Landino is here.
Oh, so yeah, you can send him up, so I'm just gonna hold on to this one, because it may be that he thought Chris Russo was coming,
Okay.
There was some confusion with some of the Chris Russo ones.
Okay. So I will ask Mr. Landino.
To come up, yeah, that'd be great.
Mr. Landino, please come up to room 1, please. Kathleen, you have to help me, sir.
Conference room 1?
Sure, come on in.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How you
Good.
doing?
I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one
Hi,
of the
Kathleen.
9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Okay.
I also know your name because what are you on, flood and erosion control?
Yeah.
I worked in Mike Petro's office for 7 years.
Oh, yeah, no, you
With
look
all the
familiar,
boards.
but it's tough without the map.
Yeah,
you
with
know?
all the boards and commissions.
Yeah.
So, I left when Brenda came in, but I remember everybody's names, so it's very nice to see,
Thank you.
faces to go with the names. And I always
Thank you.
appreciate all the work that all the volunteers in this town do.
Thank you very much.
I guess that means I appreciate myself as well.
Yes, we all do our part, I
For
suppose.
sure.
So I thought there might be multiple members, but what I'd like to do is submit to you, and probably can save you some time tonight. I'll go over it with you.
Sure, okay, so
but-
I'm just going to do a couple administrative things
Sure.
first that are required by the statutes and the
Okay.
variety of other things. I apologize, I got behind
No,
tonight,
no.
8:08. Okay, so I'm just going to read some information, just correct me if any of it's wrong. And I know you have 2 properties.
Yes.
Do you want to appeal them together?
Yes.
Talk about them together?
Yes, and
Okay, so I'm
I
gonna
think
read
there's
them.
a half an hour I won't need anywhere near
Yeah,
that.
that's what I
So
figured.
You'll get
Okay.
get out a little early.
Look at my glasses. So I'm going to read them both into the record at the same time.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so let's see. The person's glass is in the way. And you are being recorded here on this box, so just know that you're being recorded. Okay, so the first property is appeal number 502. Property address is 1662 Fairfield Beach Road. The owner is Paul Landino, and the name is cut up. The town has the value at $539,200, and you're requesting a reduction to $400,000.
Yes, and I realize this is not an exact science, but 1662 Fairfield Beach Road is a 935 square foot apartment.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me read the other one in the record. Sorry.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
okay.
Oh,
No, it's okay.
I thought you were...
I know. And then the next appeal is number 503, 1657 Fairfield Beach Road. The owner of that property is Joanne Landino. The town's value is $3,326,600, and you're requesting a reduction to $1,875,000.
That's correct.
Okay, and then the next thing I just have to do is confirm that you are who you are and swear you in.
Yes.
So can you please state your name for the record and tell me whether you are the owner of one or both of the properties and or the duly authorized agent on behalf of the owner?
So my name is Paul Landino. I live at 1657 Fairfield Beach Road, and I am the designated representative for 1662 Fairfield Beach Road on behalf of Paul Jr. and Christopher, and at 1657 on behalf of Joanne Landino.
Okay, great. And did they give you an affidavit to represent
them? Yes, I can sign them both in front of you, I believe.
Oh, well, that's actually, I'm just going to have you raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. So do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So what I meant by that is if you are not the physical owner of the property,
yes,
you cannot appeal the property unless you have an affidavit from them stating you're here to represent them.
Okay.
So I see, this is what I have the owner as Joanne Landino on 1657,
yes,
right? Okay, so since she's not here, she would have needed to give you an affidavit to be on her behalf.
Okay.
And then this one I have is the owner's Paul Jr. and who's the other owner? Christopher. And that is not you, right?
Yes,
That's your son. These are your sons.
Yes, and they will comply.
Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do is print out an affidavit for you. I'm gonna ask you to submit it afterwards.
Yes.
And send it in.
I'll
We require it of everybody because
not a problem.
you never know. There's a divorce and someone's trying to do whatever. Yeah.
Not a
So we
problem.
just.
So you'll print out 2 affidavits.
I will.
I'll
Yeah.
drop them off.
I think you have to have them notarized. Yeah.
Sure.
And Holly's down. Well, yeah, they'll have to sign it. But
Sure.
okay. So let me just finish filling these 2 things out.
Thank you.
808. There. Okay, I have you raise your right hand and swear you in, so we're good. And then now's your chance to tell me your story on both of these, and you can start with one over the other, wherever you want to start.
So I'm going to start with 1662 Fairfield Beach Road because it's a little bit easier.
Sure.
It's as I was saying before, it is a 936 square foot apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, over a 3-car garage on approximately 5,000 square feet of ground. It does not have a dock.
On 5,000 square feet.
Yes,
Okay.
and it does border the creek side.
It's on the creek
and
side, okay.
Fairfield Beach Road on the south side.
Okay.
So
It's considered a condo and not a house.
So the property is considered a condo. It's a structure it's a construct that was put in place by the Koenig family in the mid-'80s. We just did nothing to dissolve it. And what I did do on 1657 is research properties that sold both under a condominium level and also on a private residence, and they're pretty similar. So
They are.
I really didn't find, in the old days I would imagine there was a reason why they did it. Because it was done when Joanne and I bought the property, we just did nothing with it and it carried it forward.
Okay, so that's why it has the condo designation.
That's correct, yeah. And functionally, looking at, my wife is in the real estate business, so she works for Berkshire Hathaway, so we have a chance to see how properties are trading on the street. And I'm in the real estate business as well. I'm more the property development side. She's more on the sales side.
Right, you buy those properties on the Merit or the 95, right?
I redeveloped the property
On the
on Merit and 95.
You did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
They're
That was
really
done from
fun,
2008 to 2012.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Thank you. So 1662 is pretty simple. What I tried to do is, there's not exactly the same type of property on the street. So for years, we bought the property in 2011. I looked at Zillow, and Zillow rates the property at a resale value, which I think is actually pretty accurate, between $330,000 and $373,000. So if I convert that back, it takes into account an assessment of about $265,000. And the assessment from 2015 was about $221,000. So I believe the 265 is a fair number. The algorithms that Zillow uses when there's no change in the structure of the property, I find to be pretty accurate. And I've been following that since we bought the property, and it is migrated up a little bit each year. The second sort of checkpoint that I did is take a look at inflation, and that has been at about 11% in the last 5 years. And if we use the straight line inflationary method, it would wind up at about $250,000. In my letter, I didn't include it, but I took a look at the median price of properties that sold on Fairfield Beach Road, and that's $388 a square foot in 2020. And if we apply that again, it comes in at around $265,000. So I think that's a fair appraised value, and it runs us with a resale value just south of $400,000. But
the 265 would be the 0.7, so actually the assessed value at 267.
That's
265 to come to 400.
To 400,000. I'm not changing my request. I'm just trying to give you. So if I could.
Some people got confused and requested, crazy low numbers, so we realized they are talking assessed versus appraised.
So that I put that into sort of a simple letter form.
Okay, great.
So
it may already be in the record. Let me see. What's in here?
I don't think I included that letter previously, so I just thought I was.
This was just a rescheduling notice. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I wanted to.
So, yeah, so I'm going to add that.
If you need more than one copy, I'll.
No, they scan it in and put it on the online backup these days. Almost within 20, they're filing. I think they scanned 25,000 pages of it.
Wow.
Some
Well,
people have
I could have done that too. I could have brought it in, but at some point it becomes ridiculous, and I think my request. What I'm trying to do is keep the focus very narrow and not misuse anybody's time. So
right. So for the sales on this property, you basically did. I just want to make sure because we tried to talk about.
There's nothing. Yeah, excuse me, Kathleen. There was nothing that I looked at that nobody had a 3-car garage with one apartment. There were people with garages. There were people with. This is a legal apartment with a legal address. So I considered somewhat the property somewhat unique, and then so I relied on Zillow and their algorithms. I relied on inflationary trends against that number, and also the median sale price of properties along the beach.
Per square foot.
Per square foot. Okay. So between the three of them, they all came within very close, and I'm not looking to pinch pennies. I'm just trying to get to a fair number. Okay. So if you're okay, I'm okay. We'll move to 1657.
I think that's good. Yep. Let me just make sure I put this with this. Okay. Don't leave without me giving you the affidavit form too. I forgot. So I can print them right out here in a minute. Okay.
Okay. So 1657.
Yeah.
So 1657, I have to be honest, caused my wife and I a lot of anxiety. So in 2015, the assessment was about $1.1 million. And if I'm using assessment, I'll say assessment. I'm using fair market value.
Okay.
So the assessment value was about $1.1 million.
Okay.
Now, I own another house on Fairfield Beach Road, and I have to say, same as 1662, there were no changes in the property since the last assessment. So there's no building permits for improvement. There are no material changes other than painting rooms. So the property stands the way it stands. And I have to say that when 997 Fairfield Beach Road's assessment came in, it was nothing to argue. It was more, but it was reasonable to the extent of the house. So
Okay, so, I'm sorry, so 997 Fairfield Beach Road, that's the one that you...
whatever matrix was used to determine the value of that
You
house.
feel that was accurate?
That was reasonably accurate. I had no complaints, and that's not part of our discussion today.
Right.
I'm only using it as an example that
Okay.
not every property, I believe, had a problem. But
You said something about 1662, is that a...
it had no changes, no building permits. I didn't improve the property. That also, Zillow, that went a little higher because I think whatever algorithm the town used, as you got higher down Fairfield Beach Road, it looks like it assessed higher.
Got it. Oh, 1662 is the apartment across the street.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
Okay.
So I would have expected that to come in at the same relative range as 997, and it
Got
didn't.
it. Okay.
1657 was kind of crazy. So I think the number there is just a mistake, and I don't know what would drive that.
Okay.
I did an informal appeal, and it was lowered a couple of $100,000. I think the original. So the final assessment that we're working off of now is just over $2.3 million, which is twice the final assessment from 2015.
Okay.
That's a big number. So if I convert that down, so taking a look at, I'll submit to you a short letter again, keeping the facts very narrow. In 2020, the median price of houses was published on the beach at $388 a square foot. And 1657, if we break the price down, the assessed value against the market value, it's coming out to about $940 a square foot, which is, I wish I could get that much for a house. So I'd be jumping in. So I think that the number's wrong. And I kind of think Fairfield Beach Road, if I took a look, and I included with my first submission sort of ad hoc sales that took place through 2020, and I'm listing this for you here as well. I kind of think the property comes in at about $457 a square foot.
Is this the Joanne Landino page here you're referring to? No.
Yeah, probably
It
not.
says February 19, condo and home comparison.
Well,
And it says informal hearing.
Yeah, that was previously submitted. I'm kind of drawing off the same information, Kathleen, and basically trying to come up with an average. And I would say the range is between, in 2020, properties on the beach sold for about $400 to $550 a square foot. I took the average and said $450. If we take $450 a square foot, the assessed value, the retail value, the fair market value was $1.8 million. From my standpoint, it's just, I kind of looked at another house, and I don't even know what the house was assessed at, but I looked at 1563, and it looks very similar to our house. So I'm kind of indicating that I think whatever 1563 was assessed at, that would further support the statement that about $450 a square foot is the fair market value for 1657 Fairfield Beach Road. So this is in the neighborhood. It's about the same size.
Did it sell?
It has not sold,
Did not.
but neither is mine. So mine has
Right.
not sold in the last 10 years. So
Right. Is there anything that did sell in the last year or so on Fairfield Beach Road that would be similar in age, style?
No. I picked the closest one, so I don't know if this property is being objected to, but I just took a picture of the house, and I want to submit this to you as a summary of my presentation.
As what it's assessed for.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm kind of and I've included the pages where I included all the 2020 sales.
Okay.
I kind of said that the average of all the 2020s have to play into the fact that that would be the fair market value of the property.
So you took the average of the 2020
sales that are listed on page 3,
okay.
and came up with about 450,000. And I even took into account condos. They're in the same range, believe it or not, on building per square foot. So I think there's something wrong with the algorithm that spit that original assessed value out at $2.3 million, which is just, can you imagine having your taxes double? That makes us move out. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, so, have you talked to the assessor about your home yet at all?
No.
He said something to me, because I don't remember why.
No, I went to an informal hearing.
You did.
When I called, I said, what do I do? I said,
Yeah.
the original one was 225% over.
Right.
And I said, this has got to be a mistake. Why don't you just, take a second look at it and send me a new form? And he says, no, just go for the informal hearing. So I went for the informal hearing, and I think they took it from 2.6 down to 2.3, which didn't really do anything for me.
Right.
So now it's just simply about 210. I'm about 110%.
Okay, so the age of the home?
So
it's
the
a
home.
condo, it's considered a condo? but
Yeah,
that's just
it's
how
on a
it's
condo. So
Okay.
the house was renovated in, I think our building permit was around 2013. Don't
Okay.
quote me on it. I think it was finished around
And
2015.
is it FEMA compliant?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. and I'm
Yeah.
scared that that's being held against me.
Well, we do add value for FEMA compliance,
And that's
because it's there, right?
well, but I think
It's
that's an unfair. First off, I couldn't have renovated the house without.
Right.
So I buy a house. It only has 2 bedrooms. I can't live in a 2-bedroom house. So we go to renovate it, and the town says you must lift it. So I lifted it.
Right.
So now I'm paying property taxes for doing what I'm supposed to do. Sounds
It's hard
a
to,
little nuts,
I know.
So
I hear
because
that.
I'm a good boy, it's like I'm being penalized for it. So I think that should be given into consideration. Now, I'm not saying it's not worth.
Right.
I'm okay to pay what really is the fair market value, but $900 a square foot is just there's something wrong. I think there's something wrong with the mechanics of a renovation permit on an existing property along the beach. There is an algorithm that's got a mistake in it, and I can see it because 1662 we did nothing, and it went up $150,000. So a garage that goes up $150,000 in 5 years, I can only dream that would really be a reality.
Right.
It's not the case.
I think the assessor said to me that because you were coded a condo and not a, single-family dwelling, that they did not include the land when they assessed your property. They only included the building. Now, don't quote me on that because I may have that wrong. That might be what happened. That's
Kathleen,
why you have a jump, but I don't.
I would not expect that because I think that they added the land twice. Because,
okay, you think the land was added twice?
Yeah, because how could it go from 220 to 400?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And more so, there's a bigger argument on 1657 because there was a building permit that took. So I could say, okay, we got to argue about that.
Right.
But nothing happened at 1662. Nothing happened at 997. I'm perfectly fine with the increase at 997.
Right.
It's reasonable.
Right.
So that should have been the case. So my feeling is, whoever drew up the algorithm, when they got to the middle of the peninsula, they kind of lifted the edge. So
Middle of the peninsula went up.
it seemed to go up disproportionately. Now, I understand, maybe one would say it's a little bit more valuable. Okay, I would say it's 10% more valuable, but not 150,000 on a 221.
Right. Like I said, there was something about, he just said briefly about that, about condos, because I said, we have a lot of condos in other areas of town. We don't have many on the beach.
Right.
So, and I
kind of look at it and
anyway,
say...
so I was like, well, why is this a kind? He said, you're right. It's mostly, it's just like a house. It happens to be how it's seated.
Yeah. My feeling is I'm willing to value it the same way you would value any other house. So,
right.
I'm not trying to get away with anything, but I don't want to be penalized.
Right, but do you have any sales on your list here that you think are very much like your home?
No. Well, yeah, similar. They're all right around my neighborhood. But are they older? Every house, Kathleen, on the beach has a different nuance.
I hear you. That's why.
That's what makes it so difficult. Mm-hmm. And I rely on, to me, the very narrow focus is what sold in 2020, what was the average of 2020. That's all I can do. And I think if you even rated my house at $550 a square foot, which is on the higher side, I wouldn't complain because I think, the assessed value at that number is tolerable. The problem is we're so much beyond that.
Right. So on the list here, there's 3 comps, right? There's 259, 260, Fairfield Beach Road, 1641, and 40. And how many square feet is your condo?
The house is
The house,
about 3,300 square feet.
3,300 square.
Approximately.
Okay.
I don't have the actual. I think
Yeah, so it's similar to this one that's 3,318,
Yeah,
the 20, okay, so would you say your house is like there? So
Yeah,
2059,
similar.
2060?
There's nuances that I didn't check it out. That does it have a dock? Does it?
Right.
How new are the windows? I mean, I didn't get nuts with it.
You didn't look at that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just basically looking at addresses and, because there's some relevance to that. I think on average, there's not a super house or a dud house on Fairfield Beach Road. They're kind of all in this range, and I kind of think the range is somewhere between $300 and $550 a square foot.
Okay.
Is kind of what I think is, and then how close is it 500 depends, like our house would be closer to 500 a square foot than 300 a square foot. But 1662 should be closer to $300 or $400 a square foot.
Yeah, that's Creekside, right? So
Yeah.
that's why it's the land
And it's
over
only a
there.
garage.
Yeah.
Really, if it burnt down, I could rebuild it for a
Right.
very nominal sum of money.
Possible assessment, so this is an assessment comp, the other.
Yeah, I'm kind of saying, well, if you want to go look at a like house, I don't even know. I didn't, I know it's public record, but I haven't. Frankly, I kind of think that if that were a reasonable price, that's something that should be taken into consideration.
Right.
If I was to sell that house, I would sell it as in a similar price range to our house.
Okay, but it didn't sell, unfortunately.
No.
I know, it's hard for us to, land's on a curve, right? Square footage is on a curve, so
Yeah.
the bigger your house is, square footage is gonna go down because it's the curve, it's not a
Right.
linear relationship, and the same with the land, you got a few more square feet, so it's not a linear relationship.
Exactly.
So that's why we try to look at just market values, so sometimes we say to people,
And that's
tell
why.
me your neighbor's house that sold in last year that's most like yours, and why yours is not as nice or yours was better, so I can get close to, your
It's
number.
tough.
And
I mean,
it's tough.
It's tough to pick up because there are also, unique
all
cases.
unique.
Who needs to sell?
There's about
Who doesn't?
30 sales down there in the last year.
Well, it's because everybody's fighting to get to the beach from New York, and that's
Yeah.
some, and
driving up
that's
the
a little
prices
strange.
too,
and
right?
That's strange to itself, but I think that's I wouldn't want to live on that phenomenon for 5 years. But I think by next year it smooths out. It's just,
Yeah.
It may have been one
I think so.
crazy year, but I see it already. I know my wife just sold a house at 2123, and they had it on the market for 1.7 with two sides, and it didn't sell for that. It went for less. So my view is it's already flattening out, and it came in at around $450 square foot. So
Right.
which is kind of where I think the beach lands from a general standpoint. So I don't think you can get. It's not an exact science, like I said.
I know we have 60 appeals in the beach. 60.
Well, because I think there is a mistake in whatever, you don't see every house, but
Right.
there is some automatic system that has to be in place to do this, but there is a mistake.
Right, but you did have an informal hearing, right?
Yes.
So Mr. Fazio reviewed your appeal.
I'm not sure who did it, but
Yeah, he reviewed all of them by hand.
Okay,
I mean,
and he
the
took
data
it-
collector may have taken it, but then he took all the data
Okay.
collector's information
I
and
just-
reviewed it.
like I said, I would sell my house tomorrow if it could sell for $3.3 million. It's just too high. It's just crazy. All right. So I need my affidavit.
Thank you, yes, and I'm just going to read you my closing statement. If
Sure.
it's here someplace on my papers, where did it go? Okay, just so you know how it works. So, let's see. I'll be presenting your petitions to a majority of the board at a deliberation session for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days.
Okay.
We are supposed to make all our decisions in March, but with 650 appeals, I know we're going into
Wow.
April. Yeah, we're not even not sleeping now. Anyway, if your appeal's denied, you can come back next year.
Okay.
So that's the good thing. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. Because
Okay.
sometimes if we give you a partial reduction, then you're stuck, right? So if you didn't ask for a good number and we reduce you by 200,000 and you wanted $1.5 million off, you're stuck with that for 5 years. So that's why I tell people, make sure you give me a good number.
Well, the 1.8 is on.
Right, or if we give you, or like I said, sometimes the board will say no just because we feel like it's not right, but we don't want to try to make that decision for you. So that just know that if that happens, it's actually sometimes better for you. Otherwise, you have to go to, the next step, because if we give you something, you have to go to court.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've got how to go to court. And plenty of people do it too. So if you don't agree with our decision, you can take the next step, appeal it in court, and instructions on how to do so. There's a time, you have to do it within either 30 or 60 days, you have to let the town know.
So I
That'll
didn't,
be in your decision letter.
Kathleen, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said about, so if, let's say, for example, you come down to, I'm asking for 1,875, let's say you came down to, the equivalent of $2 million, so 1.4, and I thought that was okay, I would just let the time pass. If I had a problem with it, I could either go to court, or you said something about appealing it next year?
If we deny you totally, and we don't
totally.
try to estimate where, because sometimes the board will say, boy, I know he needs a reduction, but I don't think it should be as far as he, and again, this all happens in deliberations, and people will say, I don't think it should be as low as he wants.
Yeah.
And then the question is, do we try to decide what's right for you, or do we give you another opportunity to either go to court or come back next year and, listen to the deliberations and decide, okay.
I think a compromise settlement is always better. I'm always, split the deck in half and get as close as you can, and you live with it. And it is what it is.
Yeah, but when you have big properties like this, and any reduction you get, it's good for 5 years unless you do work on your home.
Right,
so,
right.
The good part is if you get it, you got it for 5 years.
Yeah,
it's not like you're coming in year 3 and it's only good for 2, and then we go and do a reassessment again.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to
with you.
print
Thank
out
you,
that
Kathleen.
affidavit for
Thank
you. And just, you'll need to return that to the assessor's office because that's part of one of the many statutes that we have.
Yep, it'll be there by 5 o'clock tomorrow night.
Awesome. Yeah.
And thank you for your time. It took a little more time, and you were kind. It took more time than I
always
would.
want people to understand the process, and so they don't make.
And I will tell you, I've owned property since I was 24 years old, and this is the first time I've ever appealed. Yeah.
I did on my home back. That's one of the reasons why I ran for the board. I was $600,000. I got a $600,000 reduction. I was at 1.8 and figured down to 1.2, and I wasn't paying. I never paid attention to my taxes.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I got divorced, and it was like, he was always writing the checks, and I was writing the check. I'm like, boy, my neighbor's here, and what is wrong with my property? So I paid in for an appraiser, and he came in at like 119, and he was a really good appraiser for Williamsport. So I got a huge reduction.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Because it really was, there was no way I was going to sell it.
Yeah.
He didn't.
That's the deciding factor. You got to believe. You got to believe you can get that number.
Right, exactly. And he was, he found perfect comps for me.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your time.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello. She's putting you up, so come on in.
All right, Kathleen.
1 second, I'm running behind a little bit tonight, but.
Yeah, I'm at an 8 o'clock appointment.
Are you 8? What is it?
Yeah.
Ooh, 8:37.
That guy must have had diarrhea of the mouth.
He had 2 properties, that's why, but he was only given 1 slot, so he was a reschedule.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. Let's see. All right, let me put these over here, put there, clear my brain.
That won't be long.
Good, so I'm going to start out with my quick spiel. So I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals. I will be hearing your appeal tonight. and your appeal is being recorded here on that telephone. I'm going to read some information into the record and just correct me if any of it's wrong. The appeal number is 240, property address 278 Kings Highway Cutoff. Owner of the property is Sailfish LLC. The town's value is $894,600, and the requested reduction is to $650,000.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay, great. And then I want you to state your name for the record and tell me whether you are the owner of the business or you are the authorized agent on behalf of the business.
I am not the owner, I'm the authorized agent.
Okay. And you can state your name?
My name is George Shawah, S-H-A-W-A-H.
S-H-A...
W-A-H.
W-A-H. Okay, I had a John Ambler on the sheet here.
Yeah, that's the owner.
Okay, so he's not here. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're on his behalf.
I'm his real estate broker.
Okay, and you have a
I'll sign this in front of you.
well, that's for the swearing in. Do you have an affidavit that he gave you permission to appeal? Yes, it looks like it's here.
Okay, good.
George Shelley. Yep, got the affidavit. So I'm just going to raise you to raise your right hand and I'll swear you in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, now's your time to tell me your story.
So I don't need to sign this then.
Oh, you do need to sign it now that
Okay.
I told you in. I'm sorry, yep.
All right, here you go. All right, so the property is at 278 Kings Highway Cutoff. Little one-story building near the Lexus Service Center. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
One-story building near the Lexus Service Center. I know where the Lexus dealership is. Is that
All right.
Lexus Service Center is different?
On Kings Highway, the
Oh,
Lexus
yeah.
Service
I
Center,
live right
yeah.
over there by Bull Manor. So
There you
yep,
go.
Yep. I
You know that
exactly.
little building?
Although I've never been to Enzo's. Okay.
Enzo's, right. Enzo's occupies about 600 square feet. They're a little coffee shop, deli, sandwich shop.
Uh-huh.
And then I put in 5 years ago Carpet City. They used to before that was, I think it was Fairfield Wine. I'm going to hand you this, Kathleen, just so you can follow along.
Okay, great. George Showa, is that how you pronounce it?
Showa, yeah.
Showa. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Can we add this to the record?
You could, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, the assessment or the full value went up 28%,
Okay.
from $700,000 to $894,000. But in fact, Carpet City, the main tenant, rent declined from $4,000 a month to $3,500. The lease renewed in January or December of 2020. And during COVID, the poor tenant, of course, struggled to survive, but ended up renewing his lease, but at a reduced rate,
Right.
from $4,000 to $3,500. So the owner took a hit of about $6,000 a year in rent. Lucky to keep him, to be honest.
Right.
The deli does very well, $2,500 a month. But when you take all that income, around $70,000, and by the time you take off your taxes of $13,000, your insurance $45,000, your management, blah blah blah, you're left with about $39,000 on page 2.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cap that at 6 or 7%, you're at a value of closer to $600,000 rather than $980,000.
Okay, so the $39,351.
Would be the NOI. That's correct.
Right, and you what was the cap rate you used?
Either a 6% would be $655.
Would be
or-
$655?
Yeah, or a 7 cap would be $562. Now, I also looked at 4 sales, and right after that, some are very nearby: Brooklawn Avenue, Old Stratfield Road, Kings Highway East, Tunsis Hill Road, all selling between $192 and $260 a square foot, average around $225 a foot. This is an older building. It does have a large land area there, but if you adjust upward for the land and downward for the age, the condition, and it needs a roof, at $225 a square foot based on sales, that would be about $678,000.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Subject properties in here on here. Oh, I see. You've got the cap rate here. Okay, so the comps that you're using.
Yeah.
You know, we look at the income first, and then we also look at sort of like market sales. So the subject property is how many square feet?
3,014.
3,014 on the subject. Okay.
Yeah.
And the land.
About 18,000, it's a big piece of land.
So is that, what is that in it? 'Cause you
.41 acres.
0.41 acres, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a larger lot, a little bit bigger, and then you have 4 sales here, 750 Brookline for 500, 428, so Kings Highway.
I can even give these to you.
Hill. Okay. Is one of them more or less like the others, the Brookline, the old Stratfield, or the reduced sale?
This one on Kings Highway, if you recall, you know the area, that old Chav's Bake.
Do.
See the Chav's?
Yeah.
Look what it sold for, $200 a foot.
Okay.
$200 a foot times 3,000 feet for us would be about $600,000.
Okay.
A little smaller lot.
Okay.
So, but I want to give you
And
these.
which number was that one?
That was known as 401 Kings Highway East. There's a few other sales too that you can take from Concom that you can throw in the record
Okay.
to look at.
401 Kings Highway East.
That's one of them.
Okay.
So between the sales and between the reduced income because of COVID and the fact that the tenant, can't afford to pay $4,000 a month, he's paying $3,500, and he has back rent, of course, with the owner, of 3 or 4 months. There's no way this property is worth $894,000. It's worth, $650,000, $600,000, something like that.
Okay.
And that's my spiel.
Great. And so I just wanted, the deli does not pay rent?
The deli pays big rent, $2,500 a month.
Okay.
Yeah. The deli pays $2,500. Thank God for the deli.
Yeah.
And the
Carpet City
pays $3,500.
$3,500. And who is there's another one in there?
No, that's just those two.
Just the two. Okay.
Yeah.
And Carpet City probably has more of the property than the deli.
They do. They've got 2,400 square feet. The deli's only 600 square feet. But you can't get in there in the morning. All the contractors are getting egg sandwiches in the morning.
I've never been in.
The food's good.
I need to. Is it good?
Yeah.
I love an egg sandwich.
Oh,
bacon
egg sandwich? Oh my God, yeah.
We used to go to Pine Creek Deli because we used to live over that way.
Yeah.
Bacon, cheeses, and like
Or his sandwiches, his roast beef, everything is pizza, everything is good there.
I mean, we can walk there, so I'm going to have to go there. But you're making me hungry. I don't have my dinner. Chips and cheese at 4 o'clock.
I'll leave you my business card, too.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you put your affidavit in here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you know it works with a follow-up if you want to tell it to him. But, I'll present his case or your case to the majority of the board for consideration and vote. You'll be notified by the board's decision within 7 days of decision.
Okay.
We'll be making our decisions in March, and I'm sure we're going into April because we got 650.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. If your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you can't appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. If you don't agree with our decision, you can take the next step and appeal it as a decision in court, and instructions on how to do so will be in the decision letter.
I hope not.
Sounds good. I'm going to be going there tomorrow, maybe. We'll see.
Okay,
Walk the dog down there. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. Nice seeing you.
You
Take
too.
care. Bye.
We do have an elevator, yes. Sorry, I got behind, so come on in.
No problem.
Oh,
How you doing?
good, how are you? Have a seat over here. Oh, there's 3 of you. I guess I need to get another chair. Let me get my first
That's
up.
okay, I can stand.
You can sit on the stairs, or you can take this one. I don't know how close everybody likes to be to each other, but you're good.
Why don't you sit there, Ken? Okay, where do you want? You sit there. Okay.
And I see St. Anthony's faces.
Yes, you do. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Sorry for the delay. They booked me hard tonight, so no time, no rest for the weary. All right. So I'm going to start this process and try to get out of here as quickly as we can at 8:47 p.m. So I'm Kathleen Griffin. I'm one of 9 members of the Board of Assessment Appeals, and I am here to hear your appeal tonight, and you are being recorded. Sure the green light is still on, yep, on the telephone right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is to read some information into the record. Just correct me if any of it is wrong.
Sure.
The appeal number is 222. The property address is 279 Kings Drive. The owner of the property is Ukrainian Sick Benefit Society. The town's value on the property is $929,500, and you wish to be reduced to $525,360.
Right.
Is that accurate? Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is have you read into the record what your names are and whether you're the authorized agents on the property or you're the owner. But it sounds like if it's a society, you probably, I don't know, you don't own it, right? You're all authorized agents.
It's a corporation.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Ukrainian Sick Benefit Society, Inc.
Okay, so and I have a Kenneth Graham here, is that?
That's me.
That's you, okay, so I just, for the minutes, I need the names of the other two written down here, and then I'll have you, as you say them, if you just want to read them into the record there for me.
Michael Goodzik, G-U-D-Z-I-K, I'm the president of the club.
Okay.
And Edward Zygmunt, Z-Y-G-M-A-N-T, Vice President.
Okay, and Kenneth Graham, you are?
The authorized representative.
Authorized agent, we're calling. Okay, great. So I don't know if there's, how many sheets are there for you guys to sign? Just one? Okay, so you just add another line on this
And
side.
the instructions asked me for an affidavit that I'm the authorized agent.
Yes,
so
thank you.
That's that.
Perfect.
That would be, if we could, all three of us could be sworn in, because they're there to answer questions you have.
Yes, and I'm just going to, that's right, let me swear you in before I have you sign. It's been late.
So you can swear us in as a group if you'd like.
Yes, that would be wonderful. So, and if you're an attorney, are you an attorney?
I am.
Then you don't have to be, but you're more than welcome to join in if you want to raise your right hand.
I'll join the crowd.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the information you shall give concerning the assessment appeal now in question shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great. So if you all three of you want to sign that, I will take that from you before you leave. And then I've got the authorized agent sheet. And now is your opportunity to tell me why you believe the town should reduce your assessment to, or your appraised value to $525,350. And that is the appraised amount you're asking for, right?
That's our current appraisal.
Okay.
Right.
Well, no, you're currently at $929,500 by the town.
That's the full value. I think their assessment was,
Yeah, that's, some of us get, I just want to make sure we're all talking in the same dollars, because they're, 70%.
yeah, with the 70%, they, after the informal hearing, they reduced it to $650. And
Let me just look up your property. You know, actually, I've got it. Is it in here? It should be in here.
the property card is in the packet. And
the online version.
we're not saying the $525,350 is the full value. We're saying that's the current assessed value of 70%. We would like to stay the same. So we're conceding that the full value is higher than that.
Okay. So you want the assessed value to, right now the assessed value is $650.
Yes,
sound right?
that's as a result of the informal hearing.
Right. Okay. So your assessed is $650. So you want your assessed to go to $525,350.
Right, which is the prior assessment.
Okay.
Okay, if I can, may I begin?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. My name is Kenneth Graham, Secretary and member of the Board of Directors of the Ukrainian Sick Benefit Society, Inc., also known as the Ukrainian American Club of Southport, the owner of the building and property located at 279 Kings Drive. I'm the authorized representative of the property owner, and I've already submitted the requested affidavit, and I'm also a member of the Connecticut Bar, volunteering my legal services on a pro bono basis to the club for this appeal. As ordered, we included in our documentary submission for this hearing the property record card prepared after our January 5th informal hearing. Our review of that card raised the issue that the town of Fairfield-owned parking area may have been mistakenly added to the club's adjacent parking area. And I'm offering, Mike, you bring it up, a one-page colored map of both parking areas. I think this will make this a lot more intelligible.
Let me explain it.
Sure.
This is our parking lot here with the dark lines.
Yes.
And this is the dead-end circle, and we're being charged for this. There are lines here, but someone put those lines there, we didn't.
So where's your access to your property?
It comes down, it's a dead-end street, and just we go
The
through our
cul-de-sac at the end of the street.
But you don't really own that?
No, the town, that's the town's dead-end circle over here.
Got it, but you got this off the town's GIS? How did you get this?
How do we get the
drawing?
map?
I can call up the GIS here, too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just faster for me to do that. 'cause then
That's the dead-end circle.
Right, let me
Yeah,
see,
it's
let me
a-
look at the town's GIS, give me one
Mhm,
second.
Sure. They maintain it and snowplow it.
Yeah, okay, let's see, GIS. I had it up before. And the property address on this is
279 Kings Drive.
Okay, let's see. Okay, the GIS on the computer, one of you guys, if you want to come over to look, does not include that. So that doesn't mean that the GIS is always right either. But this particular draw, I'm not sure where this guy came from, but see, you can see, that's what they think is your property. Right, this guy right in yellow. No. See, this is the other place next to you. See, so they're not including the cul-de-sac in this one. It's the yellow outline, that's the cul-de-sac right there, so that doesn't match this shape, see that? So I'm just confused, this is a building, right? This is the same as that building right there?
It's similar to parking. Okay.
Right, so see, they're not including, on this one, you've got the line in it, but on this one, it's outside of that. So at least according to the town, this is their GIS, they're not including that in your property, but that's okay. This is coming from somewhere, we just don't.
It's probably you probably got
Google
it
Maps
looks
or-
like it's off of a Google.
Probably.
Okay, but that's okay, so we'll double check that the cul-de-sac isn't being included in your square footage of your property, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, I think we've established that the town owns the cul-de-sac at the end of Kings Drive, which is the area closer to I-95, while the club owns the adjacent parking lot further away from 95.
Right.
The lighter painted parking stripes were painted earlier, that's the town-owned cul-de-sac,
Right.
while the darker painted parking stripes were more recently painted by the club
Okay.
on the asphalt area, which is on club-owned property. Now, what we did is, because when we looked at the property record card, it looked like the reassessment incurred into the town of Fairfield owned parking area in the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So what I did is I had our two witnesses here, and Ed is the retired fire marshal of Westport, and he has extensive experience in measuring buildings, working with building inspectors, and doing measurements such as that. And he, with the assistance of Mike, did a report. So, Mike, would you have that?
Sure, we measure the exterior, so that's what you did, Ed?
We just did the parking.
For the parking.
Oh, for the parking.
The parking area.
Okay. Yeah, do you have a deed that shows the exact square footage of the property at all? Is there you know what I'm saying?
Not with us, but
Not
yeah.
with you, okay,
But
okay. So you measured the this is the measurement of the parking, okay.
On the field card, it says that it's 18,000 units.
Right, the field card says your property is 24,394 square feet, 0.56 acres. That's what the field card says.
And then going on to further down, outbuildings, yard items.
Oh, yeah, then because when we do it, we got, even though it's a one number thing, they do the land by itself, and then they value, the buildings and any other thing. So it looks like they're valuing your parking lot at 59,900, right?
Right.
18,000 units, whatever that would be. You probably know what that is.
Well, that's, when we did rough measurements, we didn't actually do the circle, but just measuring up the parking area itself.
Okay.
There's a main parking area. We measured the side parking area, which did not include, we did not deduct the town easement, which usually goes at least 6 to 8 feet, so that was not set back.
Okay.
And even calculated out the sidewalks
Wow.
and came out to.
You've been busy.
Okay, and the main parking area came out to 10,704 square feet.
The main parking?
The main parking.
Okay, so is that in here 10,700?
Yes, the side parking was 754, not including the setback.
Okay.
And sidewalks, 785.
That's all highlighted in yellow
Okay.
on the exhibit.
So you don't know how they got to I'm assuming when it says 18,000 units, they're meaning 18,000 square feet, right? But you're saying it's not 18,000, even if you include the side parking and the sidewalk.
Correct.
Okay.
So the report concludes that 21,501.70 of the 59,000 is an incursion into town of Fairfield owned property.
Okay, so 21,000.
So that's what we think should be.
They could have measured, because the land itself may be correct at 24,394, because looking at the GIS, looks like they've got the lot lines, without a thing. But what they may have done is measured, whoever goes and measures the parking may have measured both sets of parking, added it in. So even though you're not being taxed for the land, you are being taxed for the extra parking. I'm just guessing, but that's a clarification.
That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. I think that's what you're saying, and I
And
hear you on that.
if they didn't look at the property description of the deed, it's a perfectly understandable mistake, because if you look at the map, it does look like one contiguous parking area.
Right.
Even though it has divided
Right,
ownership.
and I don't know who does that measuring, but it could just be, this time the revale companies may have gone out and, we measured all the parking lots and got it wrong.
So if they did an incursion, it would be a perfectly understandable mistake, but
Uh-huh. Do you know if it was been like this forever, or or you're just noticing it now, or no?
we noticed it when we were required to print out the property
Got it.
record deed, and that
Okay.
issue jumped out at us at that time.
So you don't know, it could have been that way for the last 15 years, could have always been in your deed, okay, or in your property card, that wrong, okay.
So basically, we were asking you to take a look at this exhibit and contrast it to their measurements.
Sure.
And see if there's an
Absolutely,
incursion.
yep.
And we believe we're entitled to a $21,501.70 credit,
21,501.70, okay.
.70, and that's also highlighted in yellow on the exhibit.
So you think those spaces are town parking spaces? They are. The town- Who uses them? I'm just curious. Who knows, right?
It's a dead-end street, it's not really parking, this is a dead-end street.
Right, but why would the town have straight parking on a dead-end street? I'm just
I
curious.
think somebody did it.
I think someone did it.
Hey, we do rent out the upstairs, so somebody probably came in and,
Just drew some, painted some lines or something,
And when the club is functioning, members of the public come,
Right, but no,
overflow from the upper parking lot, because
Right.
usually we rent the upper hall.
I see, but none of your members did that.
Not to our knowledge,
Not
but
to your knowledge.
whoever
They
did it,
could have.
whoever
Okay.
did it was a long time ago, as you can tell by the contrast in the
Right.
color of the.
Yeah, when I
parking
click on
strip.
that area, it is town property, because it doesn't come up with the GIS doesn't show me another parcel, so that is all town, so. Okay.
Okay, so we'd like you to
That's
look
your
at
question
that
on the
issue.
parking, okay.
Okay, now I'd like to briefly,
the
But that
fence.
doesn't
yeah, I've got
give
to
you
mention the fence, I'm sorry, we also have to mention the fence here.
You
Also
show,
mentioned at the end of the measurement report is that the club was assessed $5,250 for a 6-foot chain link fence, when the club only has a 4-foot fence of approximately 50 feet. Is that correct? You could add to that.
no, that's it.
And not included in the report, but we should call to your attention now, is the property record card also assesses the club for an outdoor porch, which does not exist.
An outdoor what?
Porch. Apparently, we have a stairway that goes to the upper hall.
Okay.
And on top of that, top of the stairways, you turn and enter the hall. I think they may have called that a porch, but it's not a porch.
Okay, so that's the line that's FOP, the porch open finish, or the porch enclosed finish? Do you think the FEP line or the FOP?
I think it'd be the open porch.
The FOP,
FOP.
porch open finish.
But in fact, it's on top of a set of stairs. It's not a porch at all.
Basically.
Okay. And that's 40 square feet, is that landing like 10 by 4, 10 by? Because I know, I just questioned that on my own part, because I got a little covered entry, and that's what, my covered entry over my mudroom door is considered an open porch, because it's got a roof over it.
Yeah.
So that could be what that.
I don't know if you have the property card before you, but see, here's the top of the stairs, and they're calling that a covered porch. But it's not, it's the top of the stairs.
I don't even call it that in my house too, so I gotta pay taxes on that. If that area is roughly 4 by 10 or 5 by 8, then that's probably what they're calling the FOP, is that covered top of the stairs.
It's probably.
You can't
I'm
figure
not
out
saying
anything
it's
else.
right, I'm just telling you that's what it is, yeah.
Okay, so that finishes this.
And can you talk to me about the fence too? I missed the fence part. What was it about the fence? They have it as a 6-foot chain link?
6-foot chain link fence at 500 units, which is probably 500 feet.
Okay.
We only have about the fence, the chain link fence that's there is a
4-foot fence?
4-foot, and it's only about 50 feet.
So there's an extra 0 on the 50.
50
and
feet.
2 extra feet on the fence.
Not 500 feet.
Oh.
Okay. All right. I'm sure you have more, right?
Well, a little more. But that's it on the property record card.
Okay.
I'm not going to rehash all the documents we submitted because they're voluminous, and I'm sure the board's going to read them if they haven't already. But I would like to briefly address the documents we previously submitted.
Okay. Yes,
our
please.
existing...
For the record, too, because, people are listening at their dining room table if they're really bored, I guess. I don't know, but...
So our current existing assessment before this process started, as we've said, it was $52,350. The original proposed reassessment, I'm talking 70% values, I'm not talking full market value.
Yes, I'm looking
The
at
original
it.
proposed assessment was $692,440, which after our January 5th informal hearing was reduced to $650,650. Now, we appreciate the reduction, but we respectfully submit that the club's existing dire circumstances warrant keeping our present assessment of $525,350 in place. Historically, the club's revenues were in order of magnitude. First and highest, our upper hall rental income. Secondly, our annual membership dues. And third was the income from club dinners in our building. Since March 16, 2020, the governor's pandemic emergency executive orders closed the club's non-restaurant annex bar, along with the inside social distancing regulations, necessitated the closing of the club from March 16, 2020 into the indefinite future, so that all of our upper hall rentals are gone. Since 2020, the club members paid for the full year 2020, but only received 2 months plus 2 weeks in March of last year. The club board of directors felt compelled to extend all 2020 club memberships into 2021 with no dues required. Thereby, we lost our second set of revenue. And of course, since the club was closed, we lost all the club dinners, so we lost all three. So as our submitted documentation shows, the club has had to pay for its ongoing taxes, utilities, and insurance by eating into over 30% of our financial reserves. All the documentation in support of that is in the material, so I won't rehash that. It's there. Further, because we are the fraternal arm of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, if and when the club exhausts its financial reserves and would have to dissolve, we're 30% of the way there, our club constitution requires that we convey our property at 279 Kings Drive to the Ukrainian Catholic Parish in Bridgeport. That would benefit neither the club nor the town of Fairfield, as such a conveyance would render the club dissolved, which would be bad for us, and the property tax exempt, which would be bad for the town, because that would remove our current assessment of $525,350 from the town of Fairfield tax rolls. And I'm near the end, but briefly, I'd like to call the board's attention to the decision of our Connecticut State Supreme Court handed down last December 31st in the case of Black Sheep Enterprises, Inc., DBA Casey's Irish Bar and Pub versus Lamont, which was a legal challenge to the identical executive orders of Governor Lamont, which closed our club. While our state Supreme Court upheld the governor's executive orders on public health and safety grounds, It also made a factual finding that Casey's Irish Bar and Pub suffered an, quote, incredibly difficult financial situation. We're in the identical difficult financial situation. Now, due to time constraints, I'll let the documents previously submitted speak for themselves with respect to the fact that we have a 100-year-old building, and as a result of that, whenever we go and fix something, we find something else to fix, because that's what happens with a 100-year-old building. So we have a schedule supporting our extraordinary high repair expenses. Also in our materials, you'll find reference to the fact that our Sasko Hill neighborhood had assessments on average going down 17.4%, while our assessment went way up. Other documents are evidence of of the fact that we have given up our 2021 membership dues because the members only got 2 months and 2 weeks out of 2020, and the pertinent provision of our club constitution on dissolution, which I just described. In closing, because the identical executive orders closing our club have put us in the identical, quote, incredibly difficult financial situation, unquote, our state Supreme Court found from March 16, 2020 through the present and into the foreseeable future. By the way, there's some liberalization tomorrow. That doesn't affect us because our bar does not have a restaurant. Our bar remains closed until the governor lifts the executive orders. Hopefully that'll be that summer, but we don't know that. And
you have a kitchen, right? You just don't have a
restaurant.
You don't have a restaurant.
And so the bar has to be closed.
Right.
So now is not the time to accelerate the dissolution of the club's financial reserves with a $125,300 increase in our assessment and possibly force the building and property at 279 Kings Drive into tax-exempt status. And we respectfully submit that that would not be in the best interest of either the club or the town of Fairfield. Now, this is a difficult case because normally in a residential appeal, you look for comps. But we're going to fight for a comp for a social club founded in 1921 with an aging building.
How about, did you look at the Scandinavian club?
We looked at the Gaelic club.
Yeah, that's
not comparable at all because they have a functioning restaurant.
Right?
So they're not in our situation at all.
Right. Scandinavian club, they don't have a bar, right? I don't think.
I'm not sure.
They have a member bar.
Oh,
But they do have a full kitchen.
Yeah.
Whether it's
a catering kitchen, I think. I don't think that they serve food on a regular basis, right? It's a catering kitchen.
Yeah, but they have the capability.
Oh, so you guys don't have a kitchen at all? I thought you had a
kitchen. The kitchen's upstairs.
It's upstairs, but it's not a functioning restaurant. And they won't let us open the bar until there's a functioning restaurant.
Right. I didn't know if the Scandinavian club was similar in that they also have a kitchen, but they don't function as a you can go in and cater your events, right? You use the kitchen. But, okay.
So we're one of only 200 to 300 bars without restaurants in the state, which remains subject to the governor's total closure orders. And the issue here we really want to focus your attention on, is the status quo. There's no doubt that we had nice upper hall rental income. That was our number one source of revenue until March 16th of 2020.
Right, and
that's not the status quo.
Right, is your revenue in here from your prior year?
Oh yeah, there's evidence of what our financial reserves and revenue were the month before the shutdown.
Okay, so we can see what you usually look like.
And you can see how we've depleted, having virtually no revenue at all.
Right.
There was a little period where some rentals petered out.
Right.
They didn't totally, like there's a small church that was able to do
what's your annual rental income? What do you get a year, would you say?
It was substantial.
It varies, I guess.
But it was the number one source of revenue income.
That's our main source of income.
Number two was the membership dues, that they're gone. Number three was the membership dinners, where the clubs closed, they're gone. So so it would be, but for the pandemic, it would be very appropriate to be discussing an increase in our assessment because we were doing very well with the upper hall. But I know this is something nobody's used to, but fortunately, we'll never have to be used to it again when we get out of this. But the reality is our status quo is no building rental. Essentially, since I'm not saying there was some winding down, there was a little bit there, but for the most part it was cut off immediately, and then after a few months it was cut off totally.
Right, so
That's our status quo.
Right.
It's been our status quo since March 16, 2020. It remains our status quo now. We're getting nothing out of the building, but we're having to pay all the taxes, the insurance, and the utilities. And until the governor revokes the executive orders, we were hoping that with the vaccination, that will be sometime this summer.
I hope so too.
But as Dr. Fauci says, even when that day happens, it's not as if you turn a light switch and everything's back to normal. There's going to be a rebuilding period up.
Right.
So that, plus backed up by the fact that our state Supreme Court, while upholding the orders that shut us down, and we agree with those orders, by the way, they were into public and health and safety, recognize that puts people who've been in institutions like us in the Casey's Pub, which was the appellant of the plaintiff in that Supreme Court case, in that impossible, financially difficult situation. And that's a factor that has to be considered in this particular reassessment appeal.
So
and by keeping us where we are, that gives us breathing room to reopen and then build up to normal. And at that time, that would be the appropriate time to say, hey, you're doing very well on your rental income. How about increasing your assessment? That, no doubt, was the reason we suspect, we're pretty sure, for the substantial increase in our assessment, because we did renovate from 2012 to 2014, our upper hall. We had very nice and substantial rental hall income. And up until March 16, 2020, it would have been perfectly appropriate to substantially increase our assessment. But that's not our status quo now. It hasn't been our status quo since March 16, 2020. And it won't be our status quo until well after the governor revokes his orders.
Yes. When you get this reduction, it will be for 5 years. So just understand that comes into our consideration, because if it goes down, you're good for 5. So you may go back into business at a low number and be, golden for 4 years, because we don't raise you every year. We raise, the assessments are for 5 years. They look at the 2020 grand list. So unless you do work to your place, you will stay at that you will stay at that level. So just know that, it's not like next year we're going to go raise you because now you're back in business. So it's a tricky, I don't know if you spoke at the informals with Mr. Kieran or not, but that's what he sort of tried to do. He tried to give some of the businesses like the bars some relief, knowing that they're going to get back in business, they're going to get better, and then they'll have this, reduction for 5 years. So whatever that amount is off, you're good for 5. Right, until 2025 when they do another reval. So that's why it's not like we can grant it for 1 year, we grant it for 5. So we may,
I was thinking about that. So there's no authority for you to say the current assessment stays for 2 years, but effective for the last 3, it goes up.
That's a really good question. Normally we say no, you're good for 5. Once the board makes its decisions and it's done. Now we also have the authority to raise assessments, but can we raise one that we just reduced? I don't know. That might be not a bad thing for me to ask the town attorney. Say, look, we want to give them relief for 1, but we want to put them back up next year. No one's ever asked me that. I've been on for 5 years.
Well,
most people want to go down and
none of us have been in this pandemic and have been in this situation.
Exactly. And that's why I think Mr. Kieran, as he was giving people some reductions, he was knowing that is lower than they would normally be, but he was trying to get it so that, for 5 years once they're back, they're down, and they're going to stay down for 5. So if we take you all the way down and you're there for 5, then is that fair? Because, then you're back in business. So that's a good question. I will ask that.
And then
because that's what I hear you saying, is that you don't necessarily looking for this number for 5 years. You just need it now. Yeah.
Yeah, because if we continue to deplete our resources and
I
have
totally
to sell,
hear you.
It goes tax exempt.
I know. No, I hear you. And that's a good, I'm going to find that out.
If something like that could buy us time so we don't go out of reserves and then we can start rebuilding up, that's a potential answer.
Like I said, I know we have the authority to raise within this year. I don't know if we could do it another year. Like if someone comes in, I don't know, they're way under assessed or something. I'm like, wait a second, that guy's not paying enough taxes. I'm going to raise this, and we can do that.
And then if the board does see fit to ask the town attorney, does the board have authority to do, keep it the same for 1 or 2 years and then
that's what I
go
say, go back up.
And he says no, then the second question would be, how about if it's by agreement of the parties? That could change
But
it.
you guys are just.
That could change a no to a yes.
Okay.
We might be agreeable to that.
Well, you're making my night interesting at 9 o'clock.
At the end of the day.
So thank you for your time
I
and
am.
consideration.
You gave me a lot of things. I'm gonna, get to the assessor's office in the next, 4 or 5 days or so and ask them to come out and take a look at these things we measure. They will probably give you the number will change probably just based on fixing the parking and the fence. It's not gonna change a lot, but it will, some of that will change. And then, I will have them, and then we'll also take this other, still not gonna bring you to the number that you want with those remeasurements, but let's get your cards fixed so that that's not an issue going forward. And then, we'll figure out the rest of it from there. And I appreciate you, making that nice offer. And I'm just going to read you my summary statement so you know how it works.
Sure.
I'm going to present your petition to the board for deliberation and vote. You'll be notified by mail of the board's decision within 7 days of the decision. We'll be making decisions in March, and I know it's going to be April. We're supposed to finish in March. We're going to need an extension. So if your appeal is denied, you can come back next year. If you're granted a reduction, you cannot appeal again until the next reval in 5 years. And if you don't agree with our decision, you can take the next step and appeal your decision in court. And how to do so will be in your decision letter.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all that. I've never been in the club, but I've always said to myself, I want to rent that one of these days. See if I can have a, music or whatever, gatherings and stuff.
Sure.
It's nice over there.
As soon as the governor rebooks his orders, we
That's true.
can talk business.
Is your bar open to the public? I think it is, right?
Now, the new
No,
liquor,
but before the orders?
With the new liquor law.
new liquor law that the governor just issued too, it's a cafe now.
So it's,
That's all it's changing in that regard.
Going forward.
Basically, anybody can come in there and sign the book now,
You can, okay.
So anybody can.
Yeah, so I used to work in the first selectman's office. I put it up on the town website as a potential rental. I was putting together the web page for rentals, so you guys were one of the ones that I added. So I remember saying that. I didn't know that was,
And we will, downstairs, there's a full table.
after 6 o'clock mass, whenever we get 6 o'clock mass back.
That's right. I'm looking forward to that, man. I've been watching it on TV, but I'm getting tired of it. I need to do that.
I can't make reservations.
That's right. Me neither. All right. Well, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Have a
Nice to
good
see you.
night. I appreciate your patience.
Hopefully, I'll
Because one
never
more-
have to make that pandemic argument again.
I
It'll
know,
go
for
away, leave it
sure.
alone.
All right, you can tell her to send. I think I've got one more person down there, so I can send that person up. That'd be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
I think they left you, there's nobody down there.
There's nobody down there. I thought I had one after you guys.
Yeah, the ladies that was at the
Maybe
desk.
they went home, or maybe somebody else took them. Oh, that's too bad. They were,
Unless they're in the
oh
bathroom.
yeah, they were at 8:30. Oh boy. Okay. Maybe she rescheduled them.
Actually, I think when we keep up there, when we keep up there, nobody else down here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, good for me, I guess. That's good. All right. Yeah, I'll let you on. Okay. This is Kathleen Griffin. It is 9:21 p.m. on March 18th. This concludes the hearings, Board of Assessment Appeal hearings for the night. Thank you.